Ball.
Welcome to those of you who are regular Reedy or Not viewers and or listeners. Since Kieran's on break right now, we're going to do a little bit of a One Piece divergence because the rest of us are in the know on the biggest manga in the universe.
We all know One Piece. We all love One Piece. Kieran, we will force to love One Piece at some point in the near future or distant future, however long it takes.
But until then, we will go ahead and give you all of the intel, all the knowledge you could possibly want or need about this fantastic pirate manga series. And to kick things off, we're going to kind of maybe rank some arcs.
Yeah, it feels like you can't really trust someone's One Piece opinions until you figure out what their arcs are or what their arc rankings are. Because like if someone puts, just trying to think of an example.
Yeah, are we gonna open up with
if
something here to
Skypiea
immediately start a fight?
Then you know that they're not worth listening to. You know,
they've made a mistake. Yeah, see, that's gonna be the hard part. Is like in order to make this feel like a real tier list, eventually I'm gonna have to put something in D. And even though this is One Piece, we're not going to make D the good letter. I get the bit, but we ain't doing it. That'll just make things confusing.
Should we put D as the top? Yeah, okay. So D, then S, then A, then B, then C.
That works out better. That means that nothing's D ranked.
Everything is D ranked.
The worst,
great.
The worst it can be is average. All right, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Which, you know what? I want to go ahead and put our first D thing.
I was going to say,
are we going in order?
That's what I was going to ask. Do we want to go in order? Do we want to kind of go around the room and we each get to pick an arc and then we start arguing over it? Like, how do you want to?
I feel like we should go in order just for the sake of convenience and ease. Like, there's people who won't be able to watch along with this because they're listening on Spotify or on the YouTube podcast feature with YouTube Music, which you can listen to us on either of those very conveniently.
Good plug. Good plug.
Thank you. And I think it'll just be easier to be like, well, they talked about Sierra Village last time, so they're probably on Baratie.
Baratie.
That kind of like convenience since they can't have a visual to go along with.
All right. Well, I'm cool with that. But okay, Tyler, you sounded really excited. Did you want to kick things off?
Not with Romance Dawn.
you had thoughts about a different one.
All right. We'll get there then. Should we just start with Romance Dawn then?
Romance Dawn. Okay.
Romance Dawn. So that's. But yeah. So okay. So I'm trying to remember because it's honestly been a while since I've revisited early One Piece
So
stuff.
to clarify, it is chapter 1 with Luffy as a kid and Shanks saving him. Then it goes all the way up to Luffy recruiting Zoro and beating Captain Morgan.
Okay. I feel like that was like okay. I real talk was not really sold on a lot of One Piece, I would say, until like around Baratie. So like early One Piece didn't super grip me. It took me a while.
Yeah, I've always, because as someone who consistently tries to get people into One Piece, the sentiment that it doesn't get good until episode like 40 with Arlong Park or whatever. There's a lot of merit to saying that. I'd say it's still good. It's a good start. It's a strong start, especially chapter 1. But it is not as like you can't tell how top tier it is from
it doesn't tip its hat yet. It does not show you how good this series is from its intro. But I think
so. I think I'd agree for chapter 1 alone. I would probably give it a pretty good rank, but the rest of it is just kind of like fine, and it's just kind of like a fine start to a series.
Okay, guys, I'm back.
What the heck?
Did Tyler change?
Who's there?
Yeah. No, it's me.
Nah, Tyler, that I can't.
Tyler,
all right, Tyler, what's your favorite One Piece, Tyler?
Gecko Moria.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect choice.
That sounds accurate.
That sounds like Tyler.
It's me?
Yep, that's definitely you, Tyler. We've had so many people barging into our stream.
This is a weird experience. We've had double guests. Anyway.
All right, I'm back. Sorry.
Welcome. We were both kind of in agreement that Romance Dawn isn't really the best. It's not super good.
It is fine.
First chapter maybe is great, but I honestly, for me, I would say it's like low B, high C.
I'd probably put it in B.
I'd put it, probably B. I don't like it. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't really do much. It's a fun little setup. People will always go back to it and go, he said 10, he said 10, he said 10.
He had 10 crewmates. This is the law. He cannot have more than 10 people.
May or may not count himself. We don't know. And he said men,
still not
so
sure
women
if he
don't
needs
count.
9 others or 10 others.
2 more.
And we definitely trust Luffy to know he can count.
And he didn't say about. That's a mistranslation, probably.
He needs exactly 10. But yeah, Romance Dawn has some fun stuff. I don't think it's bad by any means, but it's just kind of like felt very like, okay, yeah, this is just like gonna be an adventure story with pirates. I get you. It
Yeah.
hadn't quite gotten me with a good emotional hook yet, really.
I
Oh,
can't
yeah,
think of too many.
Good point by Replica Rabbit. The ship also, we don't know if that counts as a crewmate or not, so it really makes
also
things
true.
messy.
I feel like it's a good original start to a story, though. I can't think of it having like any kind of tropes or anything that or anything that kind of started the same.
Oh yeah, it's a pretty bold opening to like have Luffy as a kid. You know, he's entirely separate character starting chapter 2, basically. I mean, the chapter 1 obviously informs it a lot, but Shanks losing his arm is just such a impactful moment, and as a comic creator, that's very important to include in the first chapter. I really
to have a big
really
hook.
respect how One Piece opens up with chapter 1. I just think the first arc as a whole is just kind of fine.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Well, compared to what's going on later, we're gonna put it in B.
Yeah.
All right,
We might even adjust this. It might get pushed down.
Nothing says these placements are permanent.
Yep, we already put D at the top, so anything can happen now.
yeah, it could go anywhere.
All right, next is Orangetown, all of the Buggy arc stuff. And
Yeah,
we can
so this
also
Introduction to
include
the best
Gaimon.
character.
Yeah, this one's tough for me because I love Buggy,
I got the
but-
Orangetown dog. I don't remember his.
but I feel like Orangetown, I don't. Again, early One Piece is going to be where I'm going to be the most spotty
Yeah.
because like that's the thing that I watched once and that was it.
Where did you start reading it?
I didn't
Or you
start.
just started.
I started
Go ahead.
reading in Wano, so like
Okay.
I've
Yeah, you were
not
watching the
read
anime.
like any of this until Wano. Like I've only watched anime for most of this.
That means because I read the whole manga, then my opinion supersedes yours if ever we disagree.
No, yeah, exactly. So like I am laying this groundwork here to let everybody know that as a manga podcast and like, you know, thing that we're doing here, I am coming from an anime frame of reference, so all my opinions are wrong.
Yeah.
So don't worry about my thoughts. I'm just trying to give a general. I'm just
your
trying to
opinion
keep
is
up with
colored
these
by the poor
my
pacing
two
and
genius
animation.
co-hosts here. I'm just trying to keep up with them.
Right, but
Our brains are melding together like the pages of a book.
Yeah.
I would personally put Orangetown probably in the same place. I think it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but
arc.
Orangetown gives me similar Romance Dawn vibes, where I don't think it was bad, but it was just like it was fine. I really like Buggy, and I think Buggy has a very good introduction, but like for the most part, like the whole arc itself, like I know it's got like the cute dog story and stuff,
Yeah,
but like even that,
like all of it
mostly
is really
left my mind.
solid as far as the manga goes. But
I will say I would put it above a Romance Dawn, though.
Yeah, I think I would
be
say
okay
it's a
with
little
putting
better.
it above Romance Dawn. I definitely agree with that, but I still probably put it in D or B. Sorry,
the Buggy balls are good. Don't get me wrong.
B
As
for
a first
Buggy.
good villain introduction.
Yeah, B for Buggy tier.
As a first big villain, it's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we got a consensus there. Syrup Village.
Syrup Village might be my C. I think that's I think Syrup Village takes too long for what it does.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's I think not a very good introduction for Usopp because I didn't like Usopp by the end of this. I was kind of bummed that everyone was like Usopp's like one of the best, and like this was his first arc, and I was like I think Usopp kind of sucks.
As a man who's growing older and looking back on all the good times in life and looking at the good and not the bad, and as someone who studies manga and tries to realize how good things are versus what you should do versus what you shouldn't do, this arc makes a lot of mistakes. And I really, really come to appreciate a lot of little moments, but it feels like the manga didn't accentuate those moments. Like Usopp basically jumping into a fight that he could die in. His legs are shaking, but he's like, okay, I'm still going to do this. And that's what wins over the Straw Hats. I really appreciate that moment a lot more. But for the longest time, I just didn't remember that scene when I look back on Syrup Village. And instead, it's just a bunch of like plot conveniences is what I remember. Them overlooking Django and Akuro shouting out their plans in a presumably empty beach for people to overhear. It is clunky, unfortunately.
Tyler,
think,
you
Tyler?
got any?
I would probably
Syrup
put
Village?
it lowest in B. I think, yeah, I agree that it's probably the weakest, but it still sets up all the Usopp lie stuff that everyone will go back and be like, he said this. See, they're about to do this. What's the one lie that he said that's still set up? I'd probably put it in C.
Yeah, like
I think C.
I think
works
C
best for
is a good place for it. Like again, like C is average. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying like skip this arc when you reread it. Like I don't think it's anything like that. It's just I feel like it doesn't move as quick as I would like for what it ends up doing, and
Yeah.
what it ends up doing I think is just fine.
Oh, and we have lightning links in the chat saying live action does Seer Village way better. In a lot of ways it does, but it doesn't help Usopp any better, which is very unfortunate.
Doesn't make
so I'd say it does worse by Usopp, so there's a lot of give and take there. All right, well, let's move right on to Baratie then.
Baratie! This is when I started really feeling like kind of getting into more One Piece. Like I feel like Arlong Park is like the touchstone. Everyone kind of loves to point at that as like here's when One Piece gets good.
Yeah.
But like
if you don't like One Piece, is when you bounce.
Yeah, but Baratie I think really kind of starts showing a lot of like what you're going to get out of characters and their stories. Like it starts really letting you in on just like, oh, these are a bunch of really hurt people, aren't they?
It has the first proper flashback, which I often overlook. But yeah, it's Oda first, like this is his first experiment with the format that he would take on for the rest of the series. He didn't get it perfect until the next arc, but this still did really well.
Yeah, like for me, I would say it's solidly an A. Like I don't think it like really reaches super beyond that. Like I don't think it's like an amazing thing, but I feel like this is when like it really felt like all the gears kind of clicked into place and really like was starting to like, yeah, like I agree, he will nail the ratio and stuff a little bit later. But Baratie I think is like the first like you really start getting like, oh, this is gonna go places, and I think I'm really gonna like it, at least for me.
Yeah.
I think at least in the manga, this is where I was like, damn, I'm loving all these giant 2-page spreads.
Yeah, this is where I started catching up with the manga.
Knows how to lay out all this shit.
I first bought my One Piece manga when Volume 7 was coming out, so I've been keeping up with the manga ever since, and yeah, it's really fun. On the other hand, I will say that while the Mihawk showing up and fighting Zoro was cool, it did detract a lot from the rest of the arc, which is the arc's identity. Like Don Krieg is kind of just really reduced as a villain.
Don Krieg does really feel like he's kind of just there as a goof by the end, almost. Like,
which is unfortunate because the whole thing is that he's supposed to have this overwhelming power that Luffy beats because of his determination and all that. Like that's the message of the fight. So I think it definitely, like I said, the format, he first got into the format with this one. It's a great format, but he stumbled a little bit. So I'd say I probably put it low A.
Yeah, but then it also, that setup for Zoro's there with him showing up.
That's true. It is really cool on its own. I just think as a cohesive arc, it's got really great moments, but I don't think the arc as a whole, I think the arc as a whole suffers for it.
I agree. But I'll also say it's an A, but it'll probably be a low A for me too.
I like its placement here.
All right. Then let's just go on to Arlong Park, which I'm just going to say is my favorite arc.
Yeah, Arlong Park is going to be
the whole thing.
I would say Arlong Park is definitely up there for me. Like I think if we're gonna be declaring D as the top tier, I would say Arlong Park is, if not the like what will stay my top, it is way up there. It is hard to beat.
We are quickly approaching my favorite, but Arlong Park would probably be its number 2.
Yeah, so I guess we can all agree it's D, but I'm fighting for top of D. Like,
yeah, it's hard to say anything that I feel like has not already been talked to death about Arlong Park, but it is just a very good tale of just like just a character being trapped in their own specific way, how Luffy will bring a specific freedom to their doorstep, and just like at this point it was like I knew these characters would have like emotional cores to them, but this was like the real like, oh, these guys are gonna love each other, aren't they? Like, and this is just going to be a real family by the end of this.
Yeah, it's the conclusion of a saga, basically. It's the climax of a saga.
Yeah, it really makes you go like, oh, Luffy might not be like the best main character, but it's like all the characters around him that make him great.
Yeah.
He's
really see that
he's truly bolstered in his character by everyone else around him. And the reason I personally am putting it at the very top of my favorite list is because other arcs are longer and more complex, which there's a lot to appreciate with that. I think my roommate Chad Vision said that's like one of Oda's top strengths is having a lot of complex ties that all work together very well with all the different factions and things. But I don't know, I prefer a simpler story. Like I've mentioned before that if the fights were half as long, the final fights of every arc were half as long, I think One Piece would be twice as good as it is.
I think I agree with you on that.
So this is just a very nice condensed story for me. That's just like it's very polished and clean, and there's no excess baggage to it. It's just everything that's purely there for the emotional payoffs. That's all I want. So,
yeah, it's definitely like a streamlined version of the Oda formula.
Yep. So
I think
that's
that
why
works
that one's at the top for me. Anyone else?
Like, nah, not really.
Cool, moving on.
I think it's like anime only is get that great march on Arlong Park.
That part is real good. Can like I guess the biggest feather I could already put in Arlong Park's cap. I just did kind of nail it down here. Is before I was even watching One Piece at all, I had seen the classic Nami asking for help scene and had seen that part and just kind of knew, like even without context, I was like, this seems really good. It seems like what's happening here is going to really be good. I should probably like that was seeing that was what kind of made me want to get into One Piece, because it was like I like all I had really seen outside of that, like of One Piece, was just goofy, cartoony looking characters doing silly stuff on the sea, and I like really thought that was like kind of all it would be. But when I saw that, I kind of like recontextualized everything for me and made me realize like, oh, this can actually go places in like a much more serious direction and still make this all make sense and be cohesive.
Yeah, so good.
But anyway, Loguetown.
This was where I first was like, oh man, One Piece, it circles back. The character, you'll see the same character, you'll see the characters again.
Yeah, this is like Buggy showing back up, Alvida showing back up. Yeah, it's a very nice full circle kind of moment for the saga, and also just the proof of concept for these things are relevant, because if you were reading the manga, Grant, you would have seen the cover stories, and by now there was, for every chapter cover, a little update as to where Buggy was after he was defeated.
Yeah,
and
he
then
got off the island and without his body, only had his arms and legs, if you remember.
Yep.
Do you remember Gaimon at all?
I mean, I do.
Brett,
yeah.
This is a quiz.
Gaimon's the little guy trapped in the box. I mean, they're like the anime does cover this stuff a little bit. Like they do give you like an episode that I think is just all of his
They did
cover
make
stories.
an episode of the first two cover stories. That is
okay.
That is true.
I forgot that.
But for those of us who read the manga and just saw that on the chapter covers, we didn't realize how important it was, not how canon these events were until Buggy showed back up.
No, that is really cool. That is like a fun reveal. I like that a lot, even not having experienced it that way. That is a really cool way to do that, and I can see how that would add a lot of punch to this arc.
But this arc is also like the first big lore arc where it's just like, this is how Roger died, this is how the world works. It's actually split up like this. You have to go over this big mountain to get over there, and that's how to get to the Grand Line.
Yeah, like the One Piece world before Reverse Mountain was entirely normal seeming, aside from fishmen, but those came from the Grand Line, as we heard. So it's just a very normal villages everywhere we went. And the wild and crazy One Piece world and the world building and all that stuff that Oda's known for didn't start until Loguetown.
Yeah, I guess my thought here, and I kind of feel similarly about the next arc on the list as well, is I feel like this is like really short. Like I don't feel like a lot really happens. Like you're right, we do get a lot of good big like lore drop stuff, but outside of that,
story,
really, outside of that, as like a narrative, all we really get is Luffy on the gallows for a second, and it looking like he's about to get got, and then act of God, nature, or maybe dragon, like comes and saves him. And then it's like, well, all right, and we're on our way. That was, and I guess we meet Smoker. We do meet Smoker, so that's a big thing too.
But this is also
swords, blah, blah.
One of what I've coined a cooldown arc after a big fight.
Very much, yeah.
Oda always consciously, and I really respect him for this, always consciously makes a little palate cleanser arc in between each of the big ones. And this is the very good example of that. It feels very important, and it feels very grand and also very small, and I think it's just done very well. It's also very fast. Oda famously cut out a lot of little stories that he was going to include in this arc just for the sake of pacing, that the anime I think just put right back in. So you probably saw those.
So I guess I saw them, even though I don't remember it, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, Usopp getting like his headgear from a
Oh
cowboy
yes,
man.
there is like a little mini like here's how our characters are gonna get themselves kitted out type thing.
You're leaving. What's your favorite One Piece arc?
The furry one.
Okay, you like
okay,
Zoe.
Zoe, yeah.
Okay,
All right, we'll take that into consideration and put it higher.
Thanks,
Bye.
Avi.
I forgot Effie was still here.
Just sitting silently by me for a few minutes.
So yeah, I'd say as a story, it's not exactly very big, but it
Now they
definitely
broke
wasn't
my gate.
meant to be a real like complete story. So I'd still say I'd probably put it in A.
I think for me it would be like higher B, but if you guys both feel A, I'm cool putting it there.
I'd probably put it higher B, honestly.
Really? Okay.
I'd probably put it at the top of B, bottom A.
Yeah, like that's kind of what I'm thinking.
All right.
Like, I
Well,
think-
we've
I
already
think
put
it
Baratie at the
introduces-
bottom of A, so we'll
I
put,
feel like how this list is going to pan out, it will probably be in top A or top B.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
think
I
it
don't
fights for the
personally
top of
agree,
B.
but I will go with the consensus.
I would not
Thank
count
you.
Reverse Mountain as its own arc.
Yeah, I also think Reverse Mountain being its own arc feels a little weird because I feel all they
That's
do
the
is
classic One Piece thing, where arcs are entirely divided by location.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I would say anime only has had it way better because there was a death there.
yeah, we see Nami murder someone. But like I guess like I'm trying to think of anything like other than just like the lore of Reverse Mountain is cool. I like the concept and the idea of that, but like if
we've
we're,
got
if we're judging it
Laboon,
as an
his
arc,
backstory and a nice
oh, this
resolution
is the
to his arc.
Laboon stuff. Okay, knowing Laboon's in there makes me a little bit more have a heart for it because I was originally gonna go like, but I think it goes in C, but like,
Right.
but with Laboon being there, I could be talked into B.
Honestly, yeah, I'd say
Top B. Laboon.
Top of B
Top of B, Laboon.
over Loguetown.
I'd probably say so. I'd say this is
I'm
a-
okay with that. I think I'm okay
For
with
the
that.
emotional ties that it comes back to.
Well, okay, all right. Now,
So
tipping
I would not
tipping
count
the
that
hand
for
here.
anything else here except maybe like what's his name?
Yeah, see how much you like him?
Bartolomeo showing back up in Loguetown, being like, "Hey, I was there. And that's where I became your fan." Or
Oh,
whatever for Luffy.
I didn't even remember that.
I don't feel like any of these really have a comeback to this moment, like Reverse Mountain does.
I am
Yeah,
not
so go
going
ahead.
to consider Laboon's later prominence, but I would still agree it's top of B because
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is I feel like it's not like it's disingenuous to be like we're making Reverse Mountain good because the reveal at the end of Thriller Bark makes it retroactively better. Like I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's how this should count.
Fine, the
But-
Thriller Bark gets to be way higher up than you think, just because of
Hey, I will not fight you on that.
Good. I
Um,
hate that we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But even so, I think just the little that we do learn about Laboon here, I think is enough for me to want it to be in B tier.
yeah, and I think it just is it's very short, but it is a short character driven story where Laboon goes through an arc. So I definitely say it's a nice tight written little story there. So I'd appreciate
Yeah.
it. I appreciate it.
This
for
is
that.
also our introduction to Miss Wednesday.
Yeah, very important. Very Team Rocket-esque villain.
Yes.
Yeah.
In this
Which,
capacity.
Like, I will fully admit, like, even though I think Vivi and everything's great, I was disappointed when I learned that it was not her identity, I guess. Like, I really liked the goofy Team Rocket duo of...
I think the
don't
thing
even
is she
remember her
wouldn't have
partner's
shown up
name.
past that part probably if or not.
No,
in any
yeah,
great prominence
exactly.
if
Like, she would have
didn't.
been way less of a factor in the story without all that, so I get it. But I thought she was way more fun as, like, a weird Team Rocket villain than
Yeah,
who she eventually became.
I want the what if story where forget his name. Her partner was a prince instead.
Mr. Nine, I'm seeing in chat. So I'm
yeah,
going to
Mr.
read that.
Nine.
I don't remember if we get an actual name from him, but
I don't remember,
there's some
but
kind of
Mr. Nine
breakdown.
did
I'm sure
claim
he's got
to
a
be a
Beaver
prince.
card.
But Whiskey Peak, where Vivi that stuff happens.
yeah, the reveal of Vivi, we first meet Robin. Honestly, I am not a big fan of Whiskey Peak because I kind of really don't like I guess I can understand the logic of it, but basically Luffy and Zoro really getting at odds,
Yeah.
like kind of out of nowhere. Like
That
I
is
understand
a
that
problem.
that Luffy's like whole thing is like these people fed me, so I trust them and like them, and Zoro being the one who has figured out they're lying, and Luffy will trust these strangers over this person he has declared good enough to be his crewmate.
Yeah,
It's
that
weird to me that he
it
does
doesn't
not
work.
trust Zoro's judgment there. It just feels out of character.
It is entirely out of character, especially like the whole last arc. They're like, Nami stabbed Usopp, she's evil, And Luffy's
Yeah,
like,
but they
"Oh, that
still
doesn't make
stood by
sense."
her. Yeah, like there was still a lot there. Whereas this immediately made Luffy like, I'm gonna fight you for real. It
Yeah,
just
he
felt
said
like
he's gonna kill him.
Yeah, it felt.
It just tells you where his morals stand.
It felt very just like a forced conflict. We needed a reason for these characters
Now,
to
be
be
the
at
devil's
odds. And this is what we
advocate, though.
chose.
It was like a kind of goof battle. Like
Yeah, like it does get silly for sure right away.
you can be mad at friends. You can say to your friends, "I hate you," and not really actually mean that. We shouldn't be like, they actually do hate each other now. It's like, not necessarily. I think Luffy probably would have, like, in reality, maybe Luffy wanted to beat him up real bad because of that, because he's mad at his friend for doing something that he didn't like. So, like, it was definitely meant to be a goofy fight. I mean, Luffy's fat from all the food he's been eating, so I don't think we were necessarily meant to take that part too seriously.
True, but like outside of that, I feel like there's still like not a lot that Whiskey Peak in particular does to make it good outside of that, really. Like I think
really
the introduction
like the
of
Zoro
Robin
fight
is cool. She's real mysterious, and we do get the Baroque lore drop, but I feel like just kind of it's like that fight is like the main thing that like actively happens, and it's just sort of a big blight on it for me.
This is kind of the start of where no one really dies in One Piece, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Igor dies.
Yeah. Wink, wink. Igor gets blown up,
Quote unquote dies.
which
yeah.
I was so confused at this part, and I still feel like I don't really know exactly what happened. Because at first I thought that Robin literally like used her power to blow up Whiskey Peak or whatever.
Oh,
and
I think that was a bit of anime flair.
Yeah.
Because I remember the scene, they like showed a bunch of her hands, and then the ship blew up. But in reality, she just probably lined the ship with explosives.
Yeah, just like triggered a bomb or something. But like I was like, whoa, is her power like Dragon Ball Z key explosions or something? What? Because at that point I did not know what she did. I just knew she would eventually join the crew, and so it was like this weird like I don't know how she did that, but we're gonna get a crazy powerhouse on our team apparently. But yeah, just that whole arc just seemed weird to me. So like I'm kind of not into it.
This is definitely one where he like shifted. It's very clear he shifted gears halfway through, especially because it was like I do think he made the decision with in between like 2 chapters, and it's very clear where that distinction is to make Vivi the princess and a good guy. So
yeah,
it's pretty clunky. And
wasn't he like, I need a princess and I already have this character, so I just made them the princess?
That's the general idea. Like he was probably planning out Alabasta and was like, I need a good guy for them to meet early on.
I would put this high C, low B.
Yeah, I think it would be in C for me. I'd be willing to let it go over Syrup Village, but it'd be tough for me to put it in B.
I don't want to put
feeling
a low
B on it. I won't fight you.
I think it's got the Zoro fight's a lot of fun, and it is a genuinely hilarious chapter or a group of chapters. Like once Vivi's
it's a
describing
good for
all
a
that,
goof one for sure.
Yeah, so that's where I'm putting it.
Little Garden.
Little Garden.
Little Garden.
I like Little Garden a lot.
So good.
I
I think we might have our first S.
Ooh, I was thinking A, but I could see S for it.
I think it's way better than Baratie.
Yeah, I was gonna definitely put it over Baratie, but
I mean, as far as just like a genuine like the fight goes, it is very fun. I don't think it has too much aside from that. It feels
It
like
has Usopp's whole build up for his character.
we have
up or his establishment of what he wants to do, but he doesn't.
Well, I mean, it
do much
introduces
aside.
giants as a concept, basically, which is pretty big. And then I think there is also a lot like almost everyone gets a good character moment here. Like we get
That is true.
His
like we
first
get
lie becomes true.
Yeah, we have a like just Usopp with just his love of the giants. We have the great Zoro posing for his statue because he's just decided he's gonna die here and it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Like we have the Zosanji answering the snail, letting us hear Mr. Zero for the first time and just kind of shitting on him. Like I think there is a lot to like here. Like I could see it going like I said, I was gonna put it high A. If you guys are feeling super confident in it, I wouldn't be opposed to it going higher. But I think there's a lot of good to it.
I also just love Mr. Is it 4? Who's got the explosion powers. Anything he pulls off his
Mr.
body.
5. Yeah.
5. But like in a very One Piece way, he just shoots his boogers.
Yes, yeah. Like I think that's really good. Yeah, like
We
I
get
like
Mr.
Five.
3, who's an amazing character who comes back, but
Yeah,
we're not counting that.
Yeah, we're trying to keep things in context of their arc, but even so, I think Mr. 3 is a very fun villain. I like them a lot.
Also, like magic, because that one girl's not a devil fruit user.
Yeah, she's just
I
that good
forgot
with
about
colors
that. Yeah.
she can hypnotize people.
Okay, I did forget about that. That's a little weird. I'm not going to say
There's-
that
there's
detracts.
Yeah, I'm gonna
that's
say-
like implementation of hockey in some way, which
I'm gonna
I
say
could
high
get
A.
behind. I would also put it high A. I would say S.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything like truly iconic or something I would say is amazing in Little Garden, so I don't think I could put it there. Yes.
Drum Island, I love Chopper to death. I don't think it gets higher than top B.
Ooh, that's a spicy take.
Yeah, like I really like what we see of Luffy here. I like Luffy climbing to save Nami and Sanji by the end, basically. And just him like really like I feel like that's one of our first like I feel like at this point we really have not seen Luffy struggle all that much. Like this was the first time we really saw him like hitting his wall.
We saw him struggle a lot with Don Krieg.
In my mind, I still feel like that always felt like a one-sided fight, but maybe that was just because I knew it was Luffy and he was the main character.
I honestly can't like I remember like the scene of him on top of the mountain with the flag with his like jacket half torn is very vivid in my mind. But I really don't remember him fighting.
Like he does not
I
fight.
can't remember.
He does not fight Wapple. His fight is the mountain, is climbing up to the castle.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my
the Wapple
mind,
fight's
like
just mostly for comedy, and
yeah, like that's
you know
just
how
kind
I
of
said like
goof.
the One Piece was half of its final fight was cut. I'd be like it more. So I like that part about Drum Island, honestly. Like people say it's not a
the
good
fight
villain,
is not really the focus.
And the cherry blossom tree scene, like it works a lot better in the colored
actually,
manga.
the whole Chopper backstory is great. Like I love
backstory with
I love Dr.
Hirolook.
Hirolook. Yeah, like this might be one that I would be like, despite what you're saying, Tyler, like willing to put into S, because I think there is actually a lot of really good stuff here. Like I agree that the villain like Wapple is not really all that impressive, but I don't think he needs to be.
Like
I don't think.
In spite of that, I love Wapple.
No, yeah, I think Wapple's a fun character for sure, but like as far as like your big conflict, your big climax of the arc, like he really does feel like he is the least important part of it, like other than him just being the vehicle for how all these terrible things happened.
I don't remember Drum Island all that well, so I'm gonna let y'all dictate, but I'm also not gonna let y'all put it in S.
I mean, if we're putting it at the top of A, I'm not gonna fight you too hard on that, but I just definitely think that like this is also
fine.
there. This is also where there's just a lot of like groundwork of like the whole concept of what One Piece is about is really on display here, with just the people are not dead until they're forgotten, that, the found family you are not a monster, or you can be a monster to be part of this family. Like there's all kinds of like just really good, integral to just the themes of One Piece in this arc that I really enjoy personally.
Speaking of which, a little bit of a tangent, but I just saw this on Twitter and I wanted to point it out. The Roger's speech in chapter 100, where he's like, inherited will, people's dreams, and the ebb and flow of the ages. As long as people have these, they'll never die, or something like that. And in Drum Island, one of the volumes is called Inherited Will. In Skypiea, one of the volumes is called People's Dreams. And we just got what volume 110 will be called, and it's called The Ebb and Flow of the Ages.
Okay. So we're getting all of the essential things that Roger had spoken of.
Yeah, that was just really cool. But yeah, I think Drum Island, I was debating whether to put it at bottom of S or top of A. I think it's got a couple weak things. Like I think Dalton is a very
Dalton's very whatever
in the chapter. But I really like Kureha and Hirolook and their contrast. Like something I feel like I never even appreciated, like just how much of a good set of parents they are for Chopper, because Hirolook is all heart and no brains. Like he's got the heart of a doctor, but he doesn't have the skills, and that ruins everything. And Kureha doesn't have the heart of a doctor, but does have the skills, and Chopper picked up the best from both of them. I have a gripe with Viz because they did not translate the pivotal like climactic speech from Kureha right. When you see the big cherry blossom tree and you hear from Kureha, telling Chopper to go on and go off with the Straw Hats. Viz just says, now go on, you stupid boy. But the real translation would be go on, my stupid son, as that's a final declaration that Chopper has been claimed as her son, and Hiruruka's already done that earlier in the chapter.
Okay.
In the series. So I feel like they kind of botched the ending Viz did. But
Top
I
A
do
it
like
is.
that.
we'll go top of A then.
Yeah.
But
Also,
Yeah,
real quick, can you get the tier list on the screen for the stream? I just looked at it and realized that
Is
they
it-
don't see what we see, I don't think.
I thought it was on the... Yeah, I'm looking at the stream right now. It should be there.
Oh, is it? Unless I'm way behind, because all I see is Chopper and us.
Oh, let me.
Really?
Oh, wait, never mind. Now I see it. Okay, you're right.
Yeah, that
My
was a
mistake.
long time ago. I've had this. I've
Yeah,
had
weird.
the tier
My
list stuff
my
forever.
my stream was way behind then. All right, well now I see it.
Cool.
Never mind. I hit refresh and we're good.
Nice. All right. Well, let's move on to Alabasta then.
Alabasta.
Alabasta.
I
mean,
think Alabasta
First
does a lot of
big-ass
good.
arc.
Yeah, I think it does a lot of good, but I also think it like kind of treads water in some spots. Like I don't know how to put it, but it just feels like it felt too long for what it did in my mind. It was like like I kind of got arc fatigue by the end of it, but it's hard for me to. Again, this is long. It's something that has been
that
long.
might
enough.
have-
Watching
It's-
the anime.
Also true. This was also like when anime would
I
pacing was
remember
probably
they put a
starting to-
decent chunk of filler
kick in.
episodes in the most boring part of the arc, making it
I-
extra boring.
I did have One Piece pulled up, so I was
Oh,
skipping
okay.
episodes everywhere I could.
Okay.
But I still feel like I remember thinking like it was just like we kind of had, I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering, but it just felt like there was a lot of kind of feeling like it was like we're traveling to this spot, a thing has happened, now we've got to travel somewhere else, now another thing has happened, so we're going to travel to a different place. And just felt like very like we went from A to B to C without it being interesting as much as just feeling like we had to go there because the plot said so. But
That's true,
I'm-
but every arc,
but it-
every leg of that journey felt entirely different and had unique aspects to it. So I don't think I necessarily would have a problem with that. I feel like it was kept very fresh. Like I can distinctively remember, okay, when they were heading to Erumalu, I didn't remember the name of it, but that's where they have all the wacky hijinks with the desert troubles.
Mhm.
But then when they're heading to Rain Base, that's where they just kind of skip over that and just deal with the Rain Base stuff. And then when they need to go to Alabarna to fight Crocodile, that's where they're on riding all the animals in a huge rush, and it's this race against time. I don't know. I thought it was all very well put together there. As far as stretching out an arc goes, it did pretty well at making sure it wasn't too boring.
yeah, I'm willing to defer to you guys on this one, but I feel like for me it would probably be like lower A at best.
That low, wow.
Like in my mind, like I think the end of it is great. I love that final shot, everyone with their arms in the air and stuff. I think that is still like that is among like moments of One Piece would be in my top 5.
Yeah, you know what?
This arc does have some of the best stuff. We also meet Ace for the first time. Like we've got like there's a lot of good here. But like I don't know. I just remember by the end of it I was like I was ready for Alabasta to be done.
Really? Oh man, that's entirely different from how I feel, because I feel like this is the first like genuinely like bigger arc where it's got a lot more factors in it, because like we mentioned, Arlong Park is just very streamlined. It's only got the relevant characters. This is the first one he puts like a lot of like side characters in that all culminate together at the final fight. And I think it was very well paced for how many different factions there are. And I don't know. I think it's probably one of my favorite of these styles of arcs.
Actually, now that I remember it, something that I do remember kind of having a problem with this arc is I don't feel like and this might have just been either how the anime presented it or how I was watching it, but like I really didn't feel like I really cared about like the Civil War going on. Like it kind of felt just like I was kind of just like yeah, that's a problem and we obviously don't want that to be an issue, but it just feels like it's kind of just like we're kind of just being thrown into that. I don't feel like I really like have much investment other than Vivi seems kind of cool, so I don't want her to be sad. But
well,
like
her best friend she grew up with is on the other side.
Like I did
of the
not
war.
give a F about whatever his name was. Like I
Koza?
did.
But
Yeah,
he's
like
got a hot spring now.
like I had zero feelings for him like at all and did not really care about his plight. And again, I am throwing myself at the mercy, at the behest. I'm saying that I'm probably wrong.
I don't think
but it's just
Koza
like,
was necessarily the most intriguing, but having that flashback where Vivi's like going through her childhood and building that gang, and Koza was her best friend, and then the reveal that Koza was the leader of the rebel army. I thought that was such a good, like, compelling factor to it, and I think that's what made me care about the Civil War aspect of it, is that they made it just between these two people and between Vivi and Koza. So.
Yeah, like I like my vibe of Koza just came off that like he wasn't really a character. He was a tool to be like, we need a leader and we need to give an emotional reason for Vivi to care about the other side, I guess, other than it just being her country and she cares about it naturally, but like we had to give you that emotional center for it.
I agree with you, but I think he's a good one of those.
I mean, that's fair. And like I said, it's been a long time since I watched it. This was, me marathoning the anime, so I probably did it to myself more than the arc did it. But I just remember by the end of it, I was like, I was very ready to be done with Alabasta when it was over. Even though, like I said, the whole, like, I think I like the Baroque Works agents we see. Like, I like all of those individual fights. I liked Ace. I liked meeting him and getting to know him.
Crocodile.
The crocodile fight's cool. Like, I'm a fan of it.
Like, everything to do with Crocodile was great.
Yeah,
he was our first big Logia guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as an opposition, yeah.
Yeah, because we also meet like Ace at the same time.
We'd met Ace and Smoker, so we knew Logias to an extent, but like he was the first real like Smoker was against us, but I kind of didn't think he would kill Luffy if given the choice. But Crocodile definitely would.
I think I do get their point about Koza being kind of boring and just like a mouthpiece for the rebellion. I do get that. But I think everything else drastically outweighs it personally. I think each of the individual fights, I think all of the major players are all amazing characters, except for Koza. But you've got Crocodile, you've got Vivi, you've got Todo, you've got King Cobra. Like, I think all of them were very compelling. And it was very tightly paced, I think, personally. But because, like, I don't know, for later arcs, it feels like there's a lot of meandering in the final fight. I don't think Alabasta had that.
That's fair. Its final fight did not drag for sure. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put my vote for S.
I'm putting my vote for D. But
if I put my vote for A, then I think S is where we all meet in the middle, and I'm fine with that. All right,
we'll go with S.
Jaya, put it in fucking D right now.
Oh, Jaya! For a second, I thought I forgot that D was at the top. I was like, you're putting this at the bottom.
And you put it above Arlong Park.
Ooh, I don't know if I'd go that far.
I love Jaya. We get fucking Blackbeard's introduction.
Jaya
we get
is
the
real
bar
good.
scene.
Yeah.
We get.
Listen, I agree entirely that it goes straight to D personally, but I'm not sure if I would have it beat Arlong Park. Arlong Park's my favorite for a reason.
Yeah, I would definitely not put it over Arlong Park, but
Luffy
I'm cool.
Standing up for dreams.
I'm cool putting it in D, because I was originally going to say S, but D I think works here.
No, it's got.
If we're all cool with that,
it's so like everything in Jaya feels so important.
Jaya is one.
Like, even if it's not important, like it's such a.
Well, I don't even mean just like lore important. I mean character important. I mean like the story in general just has so much powerful stuff to it that is everything that like all the preparing for the knockup stream and everything. Like I get so pumped every time I read or watch through it.
The race against the clock and everything.
Like Skypiea, like arriving at Skypiea itself is like quite a few factors less exciting than just like the excitement going up to it and seeing something new. Like Jaya did that amazing and had a lot of really cool lore stuff. I love the entire Bellamy situation where Luffy just refuses to fight him until it's for someone else, which is the singular perfect callback to the lesson he learned in chapter 1 from Shanks.
Yeah, it was like, it was a great culmination of stuff. And yeah, the introduction of Blackbeard is amazing. Like I love just this pie is so good I could die. This pie is so bad I could die. It's great. Like, and yeah, just the whole bar scene is amazing. Like it's a short, quick arc, but I think everything it sets up for and like gets ready for is so good.
It is. I think it flawlessly pulls off pretty much everything. So yeah, I'd say it's at the top of D, but I just prefer Arlong Park more personally.
Cycrodia in the chat asking, do we count the introduction of Doflamingo and Kuma as Jaya or Skypiea? Because I'm pretty sure it happens
say
between
Jaya.
the two.
Jaya feels like enough of a transitionary arc.
No,
that
well, yeah, and I also think that Doflamingo plays more immediately into Jaya because he goes to punish freaking Bellamy. So,
yeah.
So like I would say that's definitely
it
more
does feel
Jaya
like a
territory.
post-credit sequence when he comes to kill him.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed, like as much as I love Bellamy, that I felt like that underserved Doflamingo with him being alive after that. But
true, but I really like it's outweighed by the fact
I love
that
what Bellamy
shows
becomes
back
and
up.
gets to do, so it's worth it. Like
Yeah.
I'm not saying that wasn't an even trade or a good trade.
Yep. So I think that's okay there, near the top of D, but I want Arlong Park more.
I agree with you on that. I like Jaya a lot, but I feel like Jaya, like this feels mean to say and makes it sound like I like it less than I do. But I feel like Jaya is like it doesn't feel like a whole arc because I don't feel like it has like a whole round narrative to it. It feels it's definitely setting up for Skypiea, but I feel like as for like an intro arc or like a transition arc, I feel like it does everything perfect. Like
I'd say it has a very good conclusion
transition
with
arc.
Luffy beating Bellamy for the gold. I think it's a very satisfying conclusion and makes it feel like it's a full story, even though we all know it's a transition.
Yeah.
I'll say it's one of the first times I remember One Piece feeling so good it made me cry.
I mean, that's happened
that's fair.
Plenty of times
that's
before this
Arlong
point.
Park for me, but that's fair.
That's Arlong Park and Drum Island for me. But Jaya's incredibly good. Skypiea, now that goes right at the bottom. We should just skip that, right?
No.
We all agree.
It's the first part that you can just
filler.
skip. Like, I'd probably throw it in either top of A or S.
Yeah, I like Skypiea a lot. To be fair, I don't feel like I have like I understand that there's plenty of narrative good there, but for me, Skypiea almost wins purely off of like an aesthetic thing. I love the Cloud Islands. I love the Cloud people. I love like all of that. I do remember when watching it, and this might have been, more anime's fault than the story's fault.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like some of the backstory, like the like when they kind of got back into like the Nolan and what's his name, like like the basically the history of Skypiea. Yeah, like all that stuff. I was kind of like I felt like they like stuck on it too long, but it was important stuff, so I feel like it needed to be told. But I felt like that kind of dragged its pacing a bit. But ultimately, I think just it is
I think I'd agree. This is all. I'd say at the end of Skypiea is where the anime also starts to get pretty dang slow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing is with the backstories though. They rush through those because the Straw Hats aren't in those. So everything you saw from the anime for that was probably properly paced. So I do think it kind of dragged a bit. There is a point in the Nolan flashback where they kind of just have the same conflict twice in a row, which is really weird. But it's a very good flashback though, so I don't want to discount it just for that. Both of the conflicts are still very compelling on their own. But it's pure distilled adventure, amazing aesthetics, even though they spent about half of that in a forest. So a give and take there. I think NL and Aru both are acceptable. Don't fight anyone. Let's quit fighting.
I think that
is a very good villain. I think he is the perfect amount of cool and arrogant and also silly and buffoonish.
I think he covers both bases very well. His priests or whatever, his lackeys, I think are pretty forgettable.
Yeah, they are.
One of them has a really fun cover story with
it's Gidatsu, the guy with like the candelabra hair.
Okay. I think I remember who you're talking about.
But you probably didn't see that cover story. He falls all the way to Earth and
also
digs a hot spring.
Sorry. This also has like one of my favorite parts when I can't remember her name, but the girl that we're friends with from Skypiea, basically.
Conus.
When Conus basically breaks the thing of going like, I have to tell you guys that we're all like scared and Enel is ruling this place and no one can talk out, like speak against him and it's terrifying or whatever. And Luffy's just like, well, why did you say that to us? Why did you put yourself in danger? You should have found a way to like I can't remember exactly how they say it. But
no, that's genuinely good. Yeah.
The way she asks for help and they're mad at her, not for asking for help, but for putting herself in danger by asking for help.
Yeah. Because she was just saying, I betrayed you. And they're like, why'd you put yourself in danger for that? I love little moments like that. There's one part in Amazon Lily where that happens. And that like bumps it up a whole rank for me just because of one little moment in Amazon League for that. But the especially just like the of Skypiea, I think is probably the best conclusion I've seen of any arc.
Yeah. A lot of these, like, I think you put it best where like One Piece solves like so many issues with the last hit.
Yes, one single hit solves like 5 issues, and it is amazing, and I think it's best pulled off in Skypiea.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think it's also
like
like
Skypiea a lot.
A fun, like, this is the first time we're seeing a whole different environment and world that like is built up. We see the way that they live there. They have the whole transportation system up there and everything.
Yeah. And Luffy countering NL's Devil Fruit. I personally just appreciate that from a writing perspective, because it's just like, how do you escalate from Alabasta, where Crocodile was like so super strong and all that stuff?
Yeah, the man made of sand who runs the desert. Without
like just having Luffy shoot up in power. You make something that he has a natural counter to, and still have him be one of the top powers that you could conceive of at this point in the story. Like it's amazing, amazing decision.
Like, I'm curious how an L power scales to current stuff.
Yeah, and you also have the villain still get his goal.
Yeah, that's
yeah. By the end of it, he is
how weird it is that he can just fly to the moon. Like that extra level of weirdness is so fun to me.
Yeah.
The big shadow at the end and ringing the bell to solve all the history. Like it's really good. It's crazy to me coming into this later and finding out that like Skypiea is apparently like One Piece fans are like, you can skip it. Like that seems insane. Like I don't know
it's absolutely
why
insane.
anyone would ever suggest doing that.
Also, like there's a lot of political aspects to it. It's interesting, like how in 2D is with and I guess there's probably stuff that Japan does for this as well, but the whole Native American issue, and this
colonizing and stuff.
Yeah, like it's very relevant to us in America too. So it's very intriguing to see his take on that, especially because like I remember getting like chills when, man, I'm blanking on his name, the previous Kami.
Oh, Godfall or whatever.
Gonfall, yes. Gonfall is debating with Wiper's like, give us our land back, give it back to us now. We deserve it. It's ours. And Gonfall's like, I can't do much about that. There's people that I'd be taking away from if I did that. It's compelling on its own. But then as a final word as a final argument to Wiper's anger, he just says, I really, really like the pumpkins that are grown off your land. And it's like such like a slap in the face for Wiper. It is perfect slap in the face for him. But you also kind of just understand like there's like an appreciation for it, and it's hard to give up what you've grown up with and what's been yours since you've been alive, just because your ancestors from a distant past took it. It's such I don't know, it provides so much like context and relatability to it.
It's real freaking good.
You know,
I'd put it above Alabasta, but you know, I was already the one who was.
I wouldn't have thought of that, but having talked about Skypiea so much, I'd say all the fights are not compelling. You guys just all seem more
passionate about Skypiea to me, but you know.
But the fights against the priests weren't very good though, so that was a big chunk of it.
I mean, that is a big chunk, and that is a very whatever chunk for sure. I'm not going to argue against that, but you know what we haven't talked about is this is also when we first see the Clubbermen or whatever. This is when we start getting hints that freaking Mary is a member of the crew. And it's beautiful and it's great and I fucking love it.
I say just for the Bell ending, I'd probably put it above Alabasta, honestly.
Yes! My anti-Alabasta campaign. I liked Alabasta. Don't get it mixed up.
I'll say I didn't expect to come to this conclusion before this, so.
We're going to get it down to A for Alabasta.
There we go.
All right. Yeah, Long Land. Now this one is full.
I think this is super fun, but I also feel like it's like middle of B. Like I think it's got a lot of fun stuff. I also think it's just okay.
Yeah, I'd probably put it over Loguetown.
That's
maybe. Yeah. Foxy's pretty fun. You get Aokiji showing up for a minute and being like, "Yo, starting this whole arc with Robin."
Okay, I'm gonna say this. I do kind of agree with this placement right above Loguetown. I think it's fun. I think in the manga, if you read the manga, it is short and sweet and a good cooldown from the big adventure that's Skypiea. Everyone's saying it's filler or it's trash because they only saw the anime, which is riddled with filler that isn't fun.
Yeah, there's a whole like town with him for some reason, right?
Well, he sets up like a whole carnival because that's just what his crew does.
No, I
like
mean
that-
like going on with what's his name who was trapped on the island.
Man, I'm
I
not sure
think
what you
you're
mean.
right. I do think there are more people than just the dude waiting for his horse or whatever.
It also just sets up a ceiling
Relevant.
for
Anime added a
the
bunch of shit.
admiral.
Is all we're saying.
So I think I'd agree with it being above Logtown. I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine. I will say though, if my theory about how One Piece ends and they all this is
No, we already said that future context isn't considered.
Oh man. And the islands are the water's
It's
rising.
all sinking. Yeah.
Oh
so
man.
here's the thing though. Here's the thing though.
Oh, you're right, it doesn't matter as it happens
unless my favorite possible ending for One Piece happens, in which case it does matter and it will shoot to the top of S. So caveat
Yeah.
B asterisk top
It's
of
got
S
an asterisk.
if the final fight of One Piece, every faction of the world gets convinced to do a Davy back fight for the One Piece because Luffy and Shanks ally themselves and therefore are unstoppable. And also Buggy would definitely want to fight Shanks in a Davy back fight. So
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
the only
Blackbeard would
setting
probably
you
honestly
can
go
take
along
one.
with it too because he thinks it would be a good strategy. So all four of the emperors agree to a Davy back fight. That means the military has to go with it. And that also means that the Revolutionary Army has to go with it if they want to a good chance at beating the military. So every faction in the world, because of these circumstances, goes into Davy back fight, top of S.
Editor note, can you type out that whole asterisk?
Let it
Yes.
be known later.
All of it will be on screen.
And like the introduction to Aokiji is really good. I forgot that that's also here.
Yes, very
Um,
good.
Like that's a very strong thing. But I also just genuinely really think the Davy back fight is fun. I think that is like a whole fun thing. It's just also fun
Yeah.
silliness that really doesn't matter.
I also like that Foxy's like genuinely a good captain and people and his crew likes him.
His crew like him. Yeah.
that I mean that alone kind of makes him like a viable threat for Luffy just because it's like
Any likable captain is a problem for Luffy, really.
Yeah, anyone who's like Luffy is like we know Luffy is strong because of who he is. So if someone was very similar to him in personality, they would they'd be a similar threat.
Yeah.
And that's why Blackbeard's such a good antagonist as well.
Yeah. Blackbeard's my favorite.
he's great. All right.
Yeah, man, but speaking
this
of
is
great.
probably like my favorite like designed island so far. This is where like I first like jaw dropped. It's like, oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah.
And then it's like it really does like more so than any other island too. It has it's like a whole living town to it.
Yeah, it's
like-
I really love the island. I love the culture to it. Like the Venice is just
Yeah.
like I want to go there just because of this. I
Just to
love
be like you feel like you're almost in Water 7.
I love the conflict in this. I love how it's all just character-driven conflict for the entire arc, and it is all amazingly done. The fight with Usopp, Robin going away, Robin framing everyone, dealing with Frankie. It's just every single step of the way is so compelling that I think I like. This will be a slightly hot take, but I like Water 7 more than Enies Lobby.
See, I was going to say my problem is it's hard for me to separate Water 7 from Enies Lobby. Like in my brain, they both kind
Yeah.
of are one big arc and not
They
two
are.
separate ones.
I feel like that's who you ask.
Yeah. So it's like tough for me to like really divide it because like all of my big memories like honestly come from the Enies Lobby side of it. But like Water 7, I feel like is such a good setup and like adds so much that it would be impossible for me to not rate it very highly.
I would say it's easily like top of S if not in D.
I'd probably put it below Jaya.
Yeah, I'd put it below Jaya. I kind of loathe putting it above Skypiea by itself, but
I think I'm okay with it. I like the
but
character
yeah,
work that much.
Yeah.
all right, yeah, okay.
I feel like just
if
for
if you guys feel that good doing it, I'm going to dismiss the little voice in me that's going like, "Are you sure?" Because it's really not a strong argument. I'm just kind of like, it just feels weird.
The Usopp Luffy
everything
fight is
going
my
on with
single
yeah.
Going
favorite fight.
Mary and Usopp.
All the Usopp stuff. This is also the Usopp Luffy fight, like which is just so man, that's so good.
I would put that in like my top 5 One Piece fights.
I'd say that's my favorite fight entirely.
Yeah, like that's so good. Yeah, all right, yeah, never mind. This is definitely D. Like what am I talking about?
And I'd say like even if it is definitely a setup because the saga as a whole is Water 7 and Enies
Yeah,
Lobby.
it is just to lead into Enies Lobby, yeah.
But I'd still say it comes to a good conclusion because
It feels like a whole
the character
story.
arc is for the crew, and their reward for the end of their victory is learning that Robin didn't betray them. It's not a fully concluded, but it is a conclusion that works for it.
Yeah, it's like that's man, there's just a lot of good here. Like this, we've tripped now into like my personal favorite parts of One Piece, and I feel like that's not a unusual take.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be tough for me to not be just glowing about kind of all this.
And I've got Cychronia asking, does the sea train transition between Water 7 and Enies Lobby count for which one?
I would say that's the start of Enies Lobby.
I would personally say that just because it's the structure of it is the fighting, which is what Enies Lobby is for the saga.
Yeah.
So just because it's all fighting stuff, I would probably put it with Enies Lobby.
Which on that sea train, fun little bit with only time we ever get Sanji not fighting with his hands or fighting with his feet.
Oh yeah, because he's using knives and weapons for the first time because he uses knives for food.
Because he's fighting a noodle man. Man. Yeah, Water 7's great. I'm definitely okay with it being in D the more I think about it, because it's just all good, man. And like just the introduction, like it's funny because like in retrospect, like I knew, like since I was watching it later, I knew that Frankie was going to be the person who was joining the crew. But like the introduction to Galley Law and all of them, and like just kind of like sussing out like these all seem like possible crewmates. They all seem like good dudes, and the reveal like, well, like 2 of them are good dudes and the rest are actually trying to kill us.
I like that Oda put into for the first time, like, who is going to be the next crew member?
Yeah, like that was all a real fun bit that like even in retrospect I was able to really appreciate. And like, yeah, just like all the subterfuge with Robin and like kind of getting into her stuff, and like the mysterious nature of Cypher Pole is like all cool and just real good. And that's all on top of the incredible Usopp like stuff that's happening, basically. Just real good all around. And so is Enies Lobby.
Very good. Obviously, everyone loved Enies Lobby.
I'll even say like it's got some of the best character moments in the series and some of the best fights.
Yep. I think the fights are somewhat lacking, personally.
Yeah, actually, I think the fights are kind of just okay in this. I don't think that brings it down too much, even though that is a lot of the like basically the whole arc. But I feel like the character stuff that is happening alongside those fights is so good that the fights themselves being
that drag, I
fine.
think the way to like that final building, the Tower of Judgment, they're fighting through all the minions and stuff. That really does kind of get a bit stale. It took once they actually get to that point where they're standing off with Robin across the way. Mm-hmm. That's all good.
Yeah, everything from there is like really good.
Like it's a lot.
It is, but I also feel like that is justified when like realizing what, because I feel like at this point this is the like in like, you know, I'm not breaking new ground here saying this, but like this is like I feel like the first real like we are against the Navy, like we are against the Marines or whatever, like we are like really like we're not just pirates and we're not just against them because they're chasing us by law. This is us directly in conflict with them, and we are taking it to their front door.
It's not even just that; it's that they're seeking freedom.
Yeah, like
you will not challenge us on that front. We will take back our friend.
Yeah, it's such a good like real like no, we're not just like haha fun pirates and we're gonna run away from the authority. Like it's no, we have a real bone to pick with them now, and
we're
we really
revolutionaries now.
Yeah, like we're drawing this line in the sand, and we are saying we're willing to fight for it. And it's like it's so like this was when like I went from thinking One Piece was like Arlong Park had already gotten me emotionally invested in One Piece and going like, oh, I feel for these characters and I love it. But like this like was like a real mental turning point for me of like, not only do I love these characters, I love what they stand for, and I love that they are the lengths they are willing to go for like the, you know, just the sacrificing the many for the one type energy. I'm so for and really vibe with. So yeah, and Enies Lobby for me is the easy, like it is my favorite part of One Piece. It is what I would put above Arlong Park. I'm not going to argue that we all have to agree to that, but that's, if you're wondering where I'm putting it at the top of the list, because this was like still where I just view that this is where One Piece peaked for me.
Yeah.
I do agree that I think the individual fights are kind of only whatever, but I feel like everything else it does elevates it so much that I'm okay with that.
I think I'd probably put it bottom of D, top of S. What do you think, Tyler?
I agree. I think it's definitely below Waters. top of S, where I'm voting.
We'll stick it there for now. We can move things around if we need to, but
I'm just gonna silently cry to myself and hear Robin scream, "I want to live." And,
listen,
and know that I'm right, but
I do literally cry every single time at that. But
yeah, exactly. I can't see that scene and not kind of get a little teary-eyed. Like it's like unless I'm really focusing on something else. Like that part gets me so good.
But yeah, as the arc as a whole, I think it's just got just a couple too many things holding it back to go above Water 7, Jaya, or Arlong Park. I think those are all near perfection, and I don't think Enies Lobby just has a couple of road bumps, and that's it. Amazing moments, but oh yeah, the Merry funeral there as well.
I would say that's Post-Enies Lobby personally.
No, I'd say that's
because that's how they get away.
Enies Lobby.
Yeah, but the funeral doesn't happen until they all get back.
Nope, that's before they go back.
Oh, okay. Because I thought like even what's his name, Iceberg and stuff was there.
Yeah, they sail out to them.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
like
right.
I think that was intentional to put it there because there's also like a 3-day time skip to like once they are back at once we see them back at the island. I think it's a very good closing point for Enies Lobby.
That only makes me feel more assured that my placement is correct. But this is a group decision. I am completely willing to let you guys
put it
keep
D
it there.
for now because I did
Yes!
I didn't consider the Merry funeral strongly enough. All right.
No one
Post-Enies
ever
Lobby,
does. Post-Enies Lobby, I like but don't love. Post-Enies Lobby, I would put more in A.
Yeah, well, I would almost put it in
Like B.
Well,
I feel like it's very
top of
similar
B,
to
but-
the Reverse Mountain
Yeah.
and Loguetown type of stuff. So
Okay.
I would probably put it top of B, honestly. Like it's got
Yeah.
good lore stuff. I love the conclusion to Usopp's.
I love like this is kind of
right.
our real introduction to Garp. I feel like
Oh, yeah.
I know he was in like cover story and stuff and things like that, and the anime had introduced him before this, but this was our real like this is
we didn't
Luffy's
know who he was at
grandfather.
that point,
We
I mean,
learned
we
more
kind of
about
knew
him.
who. We also kind of see him in the manga because he gets the whole cover story with Kobe.
Yeah, but he was wearing the dog hood specifically so you wouldn't know he was Luffy's grandpa. Because just as a little context, the prototype Romance Dawns, the one shots that he published before officially starting the One Piece series,
Garp was a
one
pirate,
of them
right?
showed Garp as Luffy's grandpa as a pirate, and to make sure that readers didn't catch on to that, he gave him a dog hood to hide his face, so you wouldn't realize it was Luffy's grandpa when he showed him in the cover story.
Which I love his just dog aesthetic. Like it's on his boat, it's on his cap.
Yeah, it is
He's
really
a dog
nice.
of the
I'm glad that
military
he's
in more ways than one.
he's goofy. But yeah, I think the strongest part of it for me is the Usopp saying "I'm sorry," which is very important to me.
Yes,
Everything else is just like a good wrap up, but I don't think it because it's so short and because there's not like.
I'm trying to remember. Like I know we get Nami grabbing Frankie's balls and stuff, but like what was the
Robin,
they
yeah.
were like
Robin.
they were like or yeah, but they were like they wanted him to join, and he thought he was responsible to his like brother, his family, and they were all like, "No, bro, it's cool. This is good for you. Go live your dream. Don't deny yourself because of us." But like I'm trying to remember, like did they like have to chase him or something? What happened?
Yes,
like,
they stole his underwear, so they had to chase
Yeah,
him through the town while he was completely bottomless.
Okay, like that part's funny, but it also felt very like, why are we doing this? Like in my mind.
He's a pervert. We gotta get this pervert out.
Yeah, I think it was what hentai means both pervert and transform, and I think also fire breath. So that's Frankie's all three of them.
He gets every meaning of it.
But yeah, I think it was like that Frankie joining the crew bit was. I think it was just fine. It was funny. It was endearing when it needed to be, but it wasn't like.
I'm not saying
great.
that to say I'm against it. Just was goofy.
We also get to come like another good like Kobe and Helmeppo come back.
Yeah,
that's fun. I did like getting our
I would
little status
definitely
update
put
on
it
them.
above Reverse Mountain. Well, fuck, I don't know.
I would not put it over
I put
the
it right
Laboon
below
stuff.
Reverse Mountain. I think.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think.
All right, let's go with that.
I think that's
okay.
fun.
Big Thriller Bark Defender. I hear people hate on it almost as much or more, if not Skypiea. Fucking Gecko Moria is great. He is just like the other coin of Luffy. He is just lazy and leaves everything up to his crew. In like,
yeah, Luffy's great because he relies on his friends, and so does Gecko Moria.
Yeah,
like no, genuine, like that is a very
No,
good.
I see that. Yeah,
like that's the whole point of his character. I will say though that just because I get the themes of a character doesn't mean they necessarily fulfilled their
He's got the
role
best
as
design.
an exciting villain. Like, I think he genuinely is, like, thematically, he's a great villain. I think someone who was destroyed by the New World, which is an upcoming threat, is great. I think someone who relies on other people to a fault is a good comparison to Luffy, because Luffy needs to fight against them. It needs to fight against someone who relies too much on other people to show how he is also self-sufficient. Like, it's all very good, but Gecko Moria isn't exciting enough, I would say. So I appreciate him, but I do agree with the masses that he's one of the weaker villains.
Oh, he's definitely one of the weaker villains, but the arc itself is so good.
The arc itself, I would say I love the beginning and I love the ending. Everyone loves the ending. I also love the beginning. The middle does drag.
The middle's so good. It does drag, but you get the reveal of Brooks, like what he's about, and then you all like.
And I will say, Brooke is hilarious before he gets stuck on only the panty gag.
Yeah.
Genuinely, one of the funniest things is the very beginning of Thriller Bark when he is introduced.
Yeah, just being like, yes. I love it. Like, I wish he would do the 45-degree angle thing more. I thought that was a fun bit.
Genuinely stole his joke of the fact that he's prim and proper, like, for my comic Atlas plane, which someday I'll release. You never know. Follow me on Twitter.
Someday
Follow
I'll
me
see
on Blue Sky. I don't care. The joke where he's just like a prim and proper gentleman and then acts like a spoiled child at the drop of a hat is hilarious to me, and I never get over it. Like, I love Usopp versus Perona. I think that was an amazing fight that the anime kind of ruined, which I won't get too much into.
No, get into it. This is what it's about.
I think the anime got too full of itself with Usopp theme song, the Sogeking theme song that they made for Enies Lobby, that them using it when he pulls out the Sogeking mask again ruins the tone of the scene entirely. It makes it goofy when it's supposed to be a very powerful, triumphant moment for Usopp, and I think it totally falls flat because of it.
Okay. I somewhat disagree, but I can see what you mean. Because I thought it was a fun addition to bring the theme song in.
The theme song is great. I love it where it is in the train scene, but it does not belong at the climactic moment where Usopp finds his inner strength, which he has labeled as Sogeking. I do not think that's the appropriate moment to take a goofy Sentai opening and play that.
That's fair. I will say I also love Thriller Bark. I'm big on it. I think it does a lot for me. Aesthetically, I love the spooky horror zone and everything like that. I think just a fun, like, just place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, not to interrupt you. Would you also count, like, it doesn't say post Thriller Bark, so
no, yeah, all
Kuma
those,
and everything.
yeah, Kuma and everything.
Yes.
I think is also definitely
stuff,
part of this.
Yeah, the Zoro. Yep.
I don't think I hate Zoro. Like, the whole, like, Zoro's the coldest character. He's so fucking cool.
I mean,
he definitely needs that one character in One Piece so people don't fucking drool all the time. But man, it's such a good moment for him.
No, yeah, exactly. I feel like this is not he's so cool because he's so badass moment. I think it is just like, that is just a great moment that just also happens to be badass.
Yeah, and then the moment right before it with just the song.
The freaking, like, Bink Sake, such a good. Everything about that moment is brilliant. Like, if you want to talk about parts of One Piece that I kind of cry uncontrollably when I watch, like Brook declaring he's so happy he's alive is amazing. Like, that is like an incredible, like, One Piece, like that moment alone makes me want to fight for it in D. But, like, I think the rest of it really does not live up to that, so I don't think that's genuine.
No. Yeah, I will say that it's definitely behind, like, probably either in front or behind Alabasta.
Yeah, I was going to argue that Thriller Bark is the bottom of S, because I think it is I think it is distilled very good One Piece. I agree that, like,
I'm considering. I was thinking around Little Garden personally. I think Little Garden has a lot in common with Thriller Bark in that way.
We don't get too many moments like this, but it has a great moment where, like, everyone dogs on Gecko Moria for not being a great villain, but they all come together. You get the whole fucking crew.
The whole squad has to come
him.
in. Yeah, it is one of the very few, like, full team fights I feel like we ever really see.
Like, the only other time we have that is when they fight the numbers in Wano.
And, like, I'm trying to remember, there was something I also wanted to bring up. Like I kind of agree that the middle is very whatever. Like, and I do think that Gecko Moria is, like, not that super, like, enthralling of a character. but I just feel like this arc is very funny. I think almost every character gets a good shining moment. Like Zoro versus Ryuma is so good. Like there's just like so many like moving parts to it that I think are great, that it's like I like Thriller Bark a lot. It's another one of those that when Tyler was telling me that like people hate it, I couldn't imagine like how that happened.
Well, I can understand how it happened because it's sandwiched between two amazing sagas.
It is also between a lot of great, so I can get how it would feel like a low point between them.
One moment from Thriller Bark that always stands out in my mind that I would like they do kind of once with Frankie, they don't do really ever again, where it's like, yeah, he's a craftsman. So like they needed stairs, so he built them.
Yeah, he built a bridge.
Yeah. Which that like for me is such a good Frankie moment that I was sad that I feel like we really don't get that from him after this, where he's like,
True.
it's his like architectural ingenuity is how he can solve a problem in a fight. Like I love that, and I don't feel like they really use that enough. And freaking them coming together to make the Straw Hat mech, so good.
Yeah,
One of
and
the
then
best
Robin
parts
projecting
in all
it.
of One Piece. Yeah, like
Oh, yeah,
that whole section is amazing.
Cycronius, Frankie's playing Fortnite. That's his skill.
Yeah,
S,
Frank-
put it in S.
but yeah, I like it a lot.
I think I think considering everything, I think it barely ekes over Drum Island, so I think I'd be okay with bottom of S.
Yeah. Like, and this is me saying I love Drum Island, but yeah.
While we were talking about that Zoro thing, though, like saying how, like, yeah, everyone says that moment of nothing happened was Zoro at his most badass. I really like the take from a YouTuber I follow called Melon Tree, and her video is called Reframing Nothing Happened, because she does talk about how it's like, if you didn't have that, like, cool music, like, if you read
makes
it
it
from the
seem
manga,
like it's this big triumphant thing.
It's this, in the manga, you could definitely read it as this, just like, this is a very scary and somber and moment, and so I just thought it would be it'd be interesting to see a different take on that, rather than just this guy's so cool.
Yeah, I agree that it is more, this is scary and I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, it's not necessarily that, but it's just like scary that Zoro almost died.
Yes.
And that he's not even going to tell anyone about it, and it's just like Sanji coming across this massive blood, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, this is horrifying, and that could have been the tone of the scene. So I just thought it was very interesting, so I wanted to shout it out, that Melon Tree video. Check it out if that sounds intriguing.
Can also agree. Thumbs up. I like her stuff too.
Sabaody.
That sounds good.
Sabaody. I like
Sabaody.
Yeah.
To clear up any confusion for that, I just want to nerd out for a second on it.
Go ahead.
Sabaody is often called Shabandi because that's how a Japanese person would pronounce it with the letter available to their diction. And Funimation calls it Sabaody, which just isn't right in any particular way.
It looks phonetically correct. I could see it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do it.
But it comes from, I believe, the Portuguese word for sabon, and the way the throat closes up at the on is close to an N. So that's why Japan goes with Shabon D. So that's why there's confusion there, but it's pretty safe to call it Sabaody with our dialect.
I see. Anyway, I would put it in. Yes. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's hard for me to place it, because
I would probably put it between Drum Island.
I think I like it more than Drum Island, but I don't know if I would put it all the way in S. I feel like it's like a top of A for me.
I think the punch is real good, especially if you're watching the anime.
Yeah. They really do
That's
gussy
something
up
the
that
anime
punch.
did very well. I think the anime is horrible, but they did that very well.
You get the introduction of the supernova.
Yeah, meeting all the
Very
worst
cool.
generation is real
Yeah.
good.
Finding out, like,
Which Oda
yeah,
made
there
up
were
1 week beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is when I started my big love affair with Kid and didn't realize yet that he was just basically going to be a joke.
I was genuinely convinced that Kid was going to be like Luffy's strongest rival towards the One Piece.
Yeah,
but-
I thought they were setting up Kid to basically be Blackbeard at that point in my brain when I was watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, this is when we're setting up who the big villain's gonna be. Got it.
Law and Bonnie have retroactively become good,
Yeah.
but the supernovas on their own, what they added to this arc without considering the future, is just I like the scale of it that it provides. Like, there's been 11 other crews on the same journey Luffy's been on, and they're doing roughly the same scale of things.
Yeah.
It just makes
makes
Luffy feel like kind of a small
equalizer.
It makes Luffy feel like a small fish in a big pond, which is a very good primer for what happens with the later arcs. It's very good writing there.
Well, it's also just a good primer for what happens immediately in this arc when Kuma shows up and is just like, nah, to all of them.
Yeah, you're not big enough.
Which retroactively also gets way better, but even taking that context out of it, I still think it's just an amazing, like, I kind of already talked about how I feel like through a lot of this, it feels like Luffy is just sort of sailing. Like he like just kind of gets to be the best and it doesn't really like get rubbed up against in a way that makes him have to really work for it. Or when he does, it always feels like, but you kind of knew, like, even meta outside of him being the main character, it always kind of felt like him coming in like he was going to solve the problem. This was like one of the first times where he is really put up against a wall and it's just like, no, you can't win. Like you don't, like, just because you want it more than everyone else isn't going to be enough. And like, it's such a, like, and it swings so hard, like, because we have like the whole, like, and we've already completely skipped across what's his name, dude who looked like Sanji and got his face messed up.
That was just very funny.
That part's fun. Like that part's fun and that's good. Like, but that is definitely like kind of like just a goofy intro to this part. But then like
also
we get
Hachi.
to the whole,
we're reintroduced to Hachi, which it was very important for endearing him to us.
Yes, and it's a great, like, this was another one of those, like, eye-opening moments for me understanding how Oda's universe works and how, like, little pieces of it can be cogs in a greater thing and you'll see them again. But, like, then, like, we swing from that to the, the human auction or the people auction thing, and we get this, we're riding high, feeling on top of the world. Luffy has punched a celestial dragon. We are introduced to that as a concept, and like almost immediately we are shown Luffy spitting in its face, and it's this like great. We're riding high. We are invincible. We're unstoppable. We are kicking it to the fucking 1%ers. We are the best. And then like Kuma comes in and just obliterates it, and like immediately makes you feel like you are just this weakling who can't do anything. And like it plays both ends of that spectrum so well, and immediately one after the other, like it like really rockets you. And like just as someone who likes stories and writing, being able to masterfully go from one to the other and really make you feel it, is so good. That like
how
I
impressive
really
is it for anyone who saw Luffy do that? Like I remember someone mentioning this, but it was like, Luffy not only punched the Celestial Dragon, which everyone knows is like, that's absolutely ridiculous that he did, but he also acknowledged that he knew what he was doing. He said, sorry, I started a war when he punched the guy. And so it's just like, it's very impressive that he would do that. Although it's not that impressive for him because he ruined everything by punching that guy.
Yeah,
he really started some problems.
Man,
but
you're right. I think it should go just above Thriller.
I would also say my favorite scene of it is when Luffy says, "Do not tell me anything about the One Piece." Is
that's
oh
also
my
great.
God,
that's also so good. Yeah, like we get to interact. Like is this? Well, no, we had met Crocus. I was gonna say, is this the first time we'd met someone who we knew had for sure seen it all, basically?
We didn't know that he was on Rogers. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe at that point he didn't know, but yeah,
we learn here that he is.
But yeah, like having the opportunity, we have a character who could literally tell us like every answer we still don't have at this point.
Yeah,
and and Luffy goes, no, like don't, like you're gonna ruin the fun if you fucking tell me. So yeah, like man, this part's so good. I like it a lot. I could personally put it above Alabasta. I think I think where I would personally put it.
I think so. It's weird putting Alabasta this low, but I think Sabaody does top it.
I love that I was the low one for Alabasta, and it keeps moving down. And I say this as someone who loves Alabasta. Like we didn't even talk about Bon Clay. He's great, but like it's all very good. But I think One Piece is a very good story, and there is a lot of very good parts to it.
Yeah. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I'd probably put it above Alabasta. I feel like it's a real fun, like, little cool down and immediately ramp up saga or arc.
All right, then. Well, we came to a consensus on that. Next is Amazon Lily, which I had mentioned earlier. I like for one particular scene, and I just like that when Luffy was given the ultimatum you can either get a ship to go back to your crew or a ship to go save your brother, or you can save the
these
lives
strangers.
of these strangers that helped you once. He immediately not only says right away, save them, yes please, but also just does that super deep bow, which just for the vague understanding of Japanese culture is just like, humbling yourself like that does not come easy. If you have any pride whatsoever, you typically wouldn't put your head on the actual floor to beg someone to do something. So just the fact that Luffy did that immediately without a thought is something that I genuinely always, it's one of my I think it might be my favorite Luffy moment entirely.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
a
a really
contrast
good
for
moment,
especially
yeah.
just a Boa Hancock who will put her head so high up that she is
She touches the floor. Yeah, she bows in the opposite direction essentially. I think that part is really good. I think overall Amazon Lily is kind of just like, it's fine. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I definitely think that part is like its peak. I think that is like when it is at its best.
Yeah, I'd say it is a little bit meandery, but it's so short that it doesn't really have time to meander
I don't think
much.
it's like a bad thing.
I'd say it does a very good job at demonstrating just how frail Luffy is without his crew, which is a very, very important aspect of the upcoming arc. So I think that's just a good point to writing. But otherwise, yeah, I'd say it's just fine. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I might want to personally put it above Baratie.
I think that's a good place to put it.
I'd
It
do
is
that.
above
I think
Reverse
that's fine.
Mountain in that case, but
I think that needs to be
okay.
reconsidered. I think Reverse Mountain needs to be reconsidered.
Well, we can maybe deal with that later.
Yeah, I think we should come back to at the end and we
can tweak a little.
Do you guys think it would be okay above Baratie though?
Yeah,
I'm fine with
sure.
that. Yeah, I
sure.
think that's about where I'd put it.
All right. Next, Impel Down then. I'm watching this one with Mercury, Falcon, John right now, and this is genuinely extremely fun. Buggy coming back, Mr. 3 coming back, Mr. 2 coming back, Crocodile coming back. This mad dash through the layers of hell. It's
real good.
I love it. The only thing about it is how long it is.
It is a bit long in the manga. It's extremely long in the anime. But I think, I don't know, they rush through it so fast in a lot of ways that I don't think it's that much of a problem.
There's a lot of just saving Luffy moments in this, though.
I think
just like Luffy just gets away with it for being the main character.
I don't think he just gets away with it. I mean, that whole segment where he's dying to the poison is genuinely like rough. I think that like I think he sold just how much of a struggle that was to deal with.
I agree, but like the hormone thing or what happened with Ivankov, that never comes back up because that's supposed to affect his life.
Yeah, shaved 10 years off of his life, and only 2 years have passed since then, so it's not like that's...
We don't know
and
what
he was supposed to die...
He's 19, also he's immune to poison now, so that's a lasting effect. But I also like, having heard more about the research for this, that Oda did for this, the fact that level 5.5 on Newcama Land is this reference and allegory to, the Germany stuff, which I don't want to say in case there's YouTube bots around to keep an eye out for them. But there's all that, like Impel Down outfits are definitely based on that. And the fact that there is this like paradise hidden within this hell is very, very well researched into this whole culture of gay and LGBT stuff. And I think there's like this, it's obviously a reference to the Rocky Horror Picture Show with Ivankov. There's also a movie called Cabaret, which is about this gay bar in the middle of Germany at that time, and just like hiding out and creating this little heaven within hell. It's extremely interesting to me, and I appreciate that whole aspect more and more as I learn more about the research he did for that, which is really fun.
I like this arc a lot. Like it does a ton of good stuff. I do kind of see where Tyler's coming from. I remember also feeling like it was like getting kind of long. This was also around when I was really reconsidering watching the anime. It just felt like everything. Like Marineford is going to be a big one where like that the anime made that feel bad to me, where I feel like I have a different view of Marineford than a lot of people. But like I loved so many, like Impel Down's weird because I feel like when I think of the individual pieces of it, I love every one of them, but as a whole it like didn't feel great to me. Like it definitely felt like like it might have just been because I was so like I really want to see what they're gonna like, I gotta see them get to Ace. that like I was just kind of like, I want you to get through this, Luffy, because I know this is where we're going. But like I liked it, but it also felt just kind of like just fine to me. Like I don't know how to put it. Like I feel like for me it probably ranks more in like low A, high B territory, even though it's like weird for me to think that because I love all the interactions with Buggy. The face Buggy makes when he doesn't remember the Buggy ball like is so good. It's so like
so
that,
good.
That is like one of the best single panels in the whole series in my mind.
I think that's like the first time he ever closes his mouth in a manga panel too.
Yeah, this is also just the beginning of Buggy's fall to fame.
Yeah, like this, like so much good stuff is in this that like it's like hard for me to articulate why it really doesn't like it doesn't rank for me in like the higher echelon.
I get what you mean. I personally just really appreciate it just because of like what it means in the grand scheme of things. Like this is like the fact that this adventure through hell is still this much fun. The fact that all of his previous enemies are teaming up with him just because he is such a charismatic focal point. It's just so, it's fascinating to see how well this works when it reasonably shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's what I appreciate so much for it.
I also really like, I mean, Amazon Lily had this too, but I feel like this is very much like Luffy without his crew and seeing how he operates as an individual working with a bunch of other people, basically. But like he kind of pulls together his own new ragtag crew of people he beat in the past. And that's like as far as tropes go or whatever, like that's like one of my favorite. I love the former bad guys having to team up with the good guy is like always one of my favorite things. And this does it really well. So it's just weird to me how, like, in my mind, this arc does not stack up super great somehow. Okay. But like, I love all its parts. And Bon Clay, all that stuff's great.
Saving Luffy, yelling until his throat is bleeding outside of Luffy's recovery room for hours on end, and then eventually sacrificing himself to die so that Luffy can get through the gate is all really good stuff. I don't want to discount
really is. Like, and like that's... Again, like it's hard. Like I don't know. I when I think about the pieces of this arc, I'm like, it's so good. How do you not? How is this not S? How is this not like D?
So my personal take is I'd probably put it near Thriller Bark, where it's a similar thing, where it's got amazing pieces, but the arc as a whole falls a little because
like maybe that's what I'm feeling too. Because like I kind of agree.
What do you think, Tyler?
I gotta agree. It's probably I'll put it above Thriller Bark.
I think I would too.
I'm cool with that. Thank you. Also, Jared in the chat just dropped a super chat for $6 saying remembers Bon Clay. Oh my God, the tears. Exactly.
Yeah, that's again just another point where it's cry every time. Yep. Yeah.
Marineford.
All right, Marineford. Grant, so you mentioned that you were having difficulties with it. I'm guessing because of the pacing.
So the anime here really slows stuff down, and I remember this being like one of the like I think at this part I was already using a filler guide, so I was skipping like whole episodes that were filler. Yeah. This was the part that made me go like, I'm going to, I think, switch to watching One Pace instead of One Piece. Like I'm going to watch edited versions of this show because I don't think this show is doing this justice. Because I think I was like traveling at the time, but I remember I was like telling Tyler like this when I was watching everything for the first time, basically giving him updates on where I was. And when I was in Marineford, he was like, what do you think of it? Like excitedly, like asking, like this is like what a lot of people think is like the peak of the show. How are you? Like vibe check. Where are you? And I was like, it's all right. Like, I guess. and he was just like, fucking what? Like, this is like everyone's favorite. Like, this is like a heralded part of the series. And I was like, I don't know. It's just like it's cool. Like, I think I get why people would like it. It seems like it's got a lot of cool parts, but I just feel like it's not moving. It just feels like everything's kind of just like really dragging. Like I want to see what happens, but it feels like it's taking forever to get there. So like
I'm just gonna have to step in and say yes, that is absolutely the anime's fault. This is 30 chapters of a war, and that for how much happens during this whole war is amazingly short. It is incredible how short that is, especially considering half the pages for this whole war are those like not double page spreads, but like 1.5 page spreads, which makes the reading super quick. It is genuinely amazing how fast this goes by and how intriguing every step of the way that it is. So I'd say definitely the manga turning 31 chapters, which would probably be 2 hours of reading, into 30 full episodes is not going to do it any favors. And that's probably why you got that experience.
Yeah, because like if I think about the events, the what happens in it, everything is good. Like it's all awesome. And so it's like I totally get like this is a very, very good part of this series. But like my experience with it was so like kind of like whatever that like it's like my brain can't equate the two. But like basing it off of what I know it actually is versus what I experienced, I'm willing to definitely let this go higher than I feel like how I experienced it would have dictated.
Yeah, you need to. Like, I'd say if you're getting the itch to ever go back and read any particular arcs, because I know I'm going to read Wano at some point soon. This is definitely something that you should revisit and just have 2 hours to sit down and get through it all at once and realize how fast it is.
Read myself a little Marineford movie.
Yep. Like this is the one war arc that I think was done right. Like we talked about My Hero. The Naruto arc was similarly long and way too drawn out. Final wars and things aren't good. This war is amazingly well done.
I think
I'd probably put it above Enies Lobby.
I agree.
All right. I'm cool putting it there just based on me knowing what it is basically, because I think that's worth it.
I know there's a lot of people's top arcs, and it's just to see if people get
like
mad.
Whitebeard is great. I love him. And
the fact that like, Whitebeard is introduced
and
you
killed
love him
in this
in
arc.
10 chapters and killed in 10 chapters is amazingly done. One of the single most impressive panels is his death, and it's just
And like this is when like I feel like Blackbeard really steps out and like establishes like, oh, he's a threat. Like at that, because at that point like we had seen him doing stuff in Impel Down and we knew like he was going to be bad news. But basically before that, even though we knew Ace was chasing him and he had like this, like a reputation for being scary and bad. At that point, every time we'd seen him, it was kind of like a Team Rocket thing where he was like he was on his raft and got like blown away by the, like, was it the knock-up stream? Where is that like what saved Luffy from encountering him?
Yeah.
Like it's like, so we had like all of these moments of seeing him like almost doing something scary. And then like by happenstance or kind of a joke, it's like, oh, actually, no, it's fine. Don't worry about him. So this was like one of the first times where we got to see him being the threat that he actually was. And I do really like that and think that's super cool.
Yeah. Oh man. Yep. I thought this would be a bit of a spicy take, and Spicy Bobby's jumping on it. Yeah. This is a lot of people's favorite arcs, but like I said, the fights are one of the least interesting aspects of One Piece for me. So it's my favorite that a war's ever been done in manga, but I wouldn't put it at the top just because it's so much fighting. I'd still definitely put Jaya above it, for example. So, but that's what you're here for. You're here for the takes you don't agree with, right? Right, Spicy
exactly.
Bobby, right, chat?
Otherwise, you'd be making the tier list, dummy.
Yeah, you get up here and you make the tier list if you're so good at it.
We love you. Please don't leave.
Here, I'm sending him our address so he can come.
Yeah, so he can get on mic, defend himself. A post-war.
It's the whole flashback with Sabo and everything. Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out what this actually is.
I don't care. I didn't care about Ace like as anything other than like a character Luffy cares about. I don't give a fuck about Sabo. The big moment for here is I still have my crew.
Yes.
Yeah, and that part is really good. I do like that a lot.
Yeah.
I say that's probably the most important moment of the One Piece overarching story. Like I made a whole video about that on my channel.
Yeah, that is a singular most important moment.
Yeah, that's my reasoning for why there won't be any crew members that join after that point. Because it's just like, this is the single most important part of Luffy's story. You can't just have a crew member that wasn't there for him in that moment. That's just my take on it. But it's like, this is like the center point. This is the dark middle chapter. This is the turnaround point for the entire story of One Piece, where Luffy picks himself up and is able to keep going for the entire rest of the journey. It's that important. I think the flashback is pennies in comparison. I do not think it's that important in comparison. And yeah, Jinbei is great for this. I love just how like down and dour all this is. It really just feels like this just nursing a wound after a war.
We are defeated.
Yeah. And you see the world like suddenly shifting so much. It's a very good arc. It's everything it needs to be, in my opinion, but that doesn't necessarily make it one of my favorites because it's just so dark and dour, and I'm not so much into that kind of vibe.
Yeah, honestly, I'd probably put it somewhere in A. Maybe, well, Just that one moment. That one moment is from the
that-
entire
yeah,
arc. So
Yeah,
I'd
that
probably
one
put
moment
it
does really sell it.
bottom
yeah.
of A, top of B, personally.
I'd be willing
I-
to put it over Baratie, I think, but that's about as high as I would put it. I would put I would put it as low as Post-Enies Lobby.
It just focuses on 2 characters I don't give a fuck about.
No, I'm kind of with you there. I'm
But
also,
we also
a
go,
bit
hey,
of a
what's
Sabo hater.
Luffy's dream?
I want it to be higher in A. I'm gonna fight for it to be above Amazon Lily.
Okay, I'm willing to let that go. I don't think that's how I feel, but I think I can see that.
On a step back, that one moment I feel is better than anything I feel in Amazon Lily.
Yeah.
So I agree. I still don't like how high Baratie is up on here.
We can adjust later.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
can adjust. We'll adjust it later.
I'm itchy.
Even though we're basing everything's placement off of where things are, we can adjust later and undo all of our thinking.
Return to Sabaody.
You know, from everything I'm seeing from this new, what are they calling this project?
What did they call it? One Piece log, I think, is just the most common term I've heard for it.
I'm pretty excited to see everything they're putting out for that. I don't know if they're planning on going up to, or where they're stopping with it, if they're going to go all the way to like Punk Hazard and everything. But
I mean,
Fishman
the
Island,
common,
Sabaody
the
has a lot
assumed take of it
moments.
right now is that it's going to go to the end of Fishman Island, then the One Piece anime is going to resume, and then they're going to take another break, and then they're going to do Punk Hazard, and then anime is going to resume. They're going to take another break, and they're going to do Dressrosa. That's what I would personally prefer, but we can talk about that. It's another video.
That can be its own topic.
Return
But
to
yeah, as far
Sabaody.
as what happens here, I know we get like fake straw hats for a little bit, and then we get like basically a big showdown with the pacifista.
Yep.
Trying to think if there was really anything else that happened that I'm forgetting.
There's the reveal that the Straw Hat is Gold Rogers, and Rayleigh cries when Luffy says he's going to be king of the pirates.
Okay.
I think those are the most impactful moments, but I will say the Return to Sabaody is nothing special. It doesn't.
It
really
is a
do
really
anything.
fun, like, and cool, like, uplifting
cool.
moment to see the pacifista, which basically one-shotted the whole party, and now everyone can deal with them. Is a very good, like, hey, we're back at it, and we're ready to do it again. But yeah, I kind of agree that it's sort of just a kind of a whatever thing. It's neat and it's good and it's feel good and it does what it needs to do.
Yep.
But it's not like a huge thing.
Yeah, it's just
I'd say it's very similar to Reverse Mountain in that way.
Yeah,
Maybe a bit less. So maybe something like Post-Enies Lobby.
I'd put it above Post-Enies Lobby.
Yeah,
I
I
can
like
do
it
that.
more just because I really like the satisfaction of the nice, fun power creep our team got to do.
Yeah, it's a fun little like, well, here's the power pacifistas, and look, they're just taking care of them.
We got the band back together, and it turns out they've all been practicing their instruments really well.
Yeah,
Yep.
I do like the whole fun little thing with the fake straw hat.
I like the fake straw hats, but I think a thing I would label against this is how quickly Chopper is fooled. It's funny and cute. Like, I like it from an entertainment standpoint, but from a character perspective, it makes no freaking sense. If there's anyone who would be able to immediately sniff out like that these aren't his friends, it would be Chopper. So it's weird to me that he gets fooled. If anyone, I would think it would be like Zoro or someone who I don't think actually looks anyone in the eye and would not be able to give a good physical description of his friends.
You know what? Zoro running into the fake Sanji first would be really good, and then that's just how.
Oh yeah, I'm
how
really
they've
looking that
been.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think it's that's just kind of an example of how Chopper's kind of just become the mascot meant to be cute, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I'd say it was definitely very funny, definitely very iconic. One of the jokes that the fandom loves running into the ground is the fake straw hats.
I do like the fake straw hats. I'm a fan of them as a concept.
But yeah, I definitely probably put it.
But yeah,
Put it
I think we've got it
around
at a good spot here.
Fishman Island. This one is interesting because there's a lot of really good stuff to it, and a lot of people really don't like it.
I'm very middling on Fishman Island. Fishman Island for me, like gut check, I would put low B. Like I think a lot of important and good stuff is established here, but I also think it feels like a very clunky arc. Like I feel like it is like I don't know if it's not paced well. I don't know how to put it, but I feel like it just doesn't.
It's a lot of it's really over the place, and we also get like a flashback with a character that we're not familiar with Fisher Tiger.
I don't know. I really appreciate that.
Like honestly, that's the
But
part
I
of
do
it I
love.
like.
I love that.
Like,
Flash.
yeah, I think that flashback is kind
koala
of the
and
best
everything.
part of it.
I don't know. I really like the theming and the messaging and the politics is a charged word, but that's basically what it is, the politics
Right.
of it. I don't know. I think it's really impressive. I think as an arc, it was underwhelming to the people who were coming down from the war.
That's
But
also fair.
and the anime totally trashed the pacing
That might also be part of my problem with it.
and
then,
drew
so I
it
did-
very
I did
poorly.
still watch it.
This is
Oh,
starting
yeah,
to get
this
into
is
an area
where,
where the art.
This
in
is when the
particular
art
gets
really
awful,
kind
too.
of nosedive. Yeah.
So keeping all that in mind, I think this arc didn't necessarily wow anyone, which it honestly should have coming back from a time skip. So that is a definitive flaw with it. But I think it is so like smart in how it handles every bit of its story, and I think it is very compelling. And like I've reread it like 3 times, and I don't know, I just keep appreciating it more and more every time. So maybe just the fact that I've read it so much is getting me biased towards it, but I think it deserves to go pretty high. I probably put it around the Thriller Bark area.
I don't know if I'd put it that high. I feel like I mean obviously I have a lower take on it, but like I feel like the highest I could see it in my mind would be somewhere in A. But like it's just one of those things where it's like I like a lot of what it does, and I do think that the whole Fisher Tiger flashback I think is really good, and I feel like it sets up a lot of very important like world stuff as far as like just how deep a lot of the prejudices go and stuff, and like the whole the imagery of Luffy and Jinbei, like the blood transfusion stuff, is really good. Like I like it's another one of those where I feel like I like a lot of individual aspects of it, but like I think Hody Jones like his motivation and him as a character I think is fine, but like
I really like the moment where Hody Jones says, you know, what have humans done to you? And he says nothing. I genuinely think that is one of the strongest moments.
Like, I love him being inspired by
Arlong.
Yeah. I think it presents a very good, like, quote unquote solution for racism, where it's like hatred really can't die out, and you see good people still have to hate, and it's still like you can understand it and accept that they just won't be able to let go of it ever. But the important thing is just to let future generations not fall to that. Like, I don't know. I just really, it makes me think so much. And I think about Fishman Island a lot more than most of other arcs. So it's really compelling to me. People don't like how Hody isn't strong and how there's no stakes for the Straw Hats. But the stakes are for the rest of the society that has to deal with this white savior of Luffy. Like that the stakes aren't for Luffy's crew, and Hody Jones is not a villain that needs to be toppled because he's so strong. So I don't know, I really like it.
It is more the Straw Hats having to fight an ideology versus a person.
Yeah.
And like I think that's important and cool, but also like it's one of those, and again like I have the problem of me being a primary anime consumer on this. Is it just like I just remember by the end of it, I'm just like, all right, we are out of there. Let's go to whatever is next, please. Like, and so like, a lot of that colors a lot of it.
But I'm a huge defender of it. I'd say it's similarly flawed to Thriller Bark, but similarly great. That's where I want to put it.
Yeah.
If you guys want me to push it down a little bit, I can, but this is where I'd want to put it.
I'd put it just below Thriller Bark on.
And what do you say, Grant?
Like I said, for me, it would probably be somewhere in the low end of A. But if you guys are both kind of in agreement in there, I'm willing to.
We can knock it down a few notches to like upper A.
Like I definitely put it below Drum Island for me. Like at least
I'd say it's above Drum Island.
I could see it hanging out with Little Garden and post-war. But
let's put it there as to appease Grant, who's just gonna throw a fit if we don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna tear this whole thing down if you guys demand it any higher than this.
All right, well let's keep going. Punk Hazard, I'd give it a C.
Really? Okay.
I think it's it is extremely weak arc. Oda's trying a lot of things, but I do not think there's very few things that land perfectly for me. Like we keep talking about amazing moments. Punk Hazard has very few of them. And it's also kind of clunky just getting through the arc.
I love Caesar the Clown. But
Caesar Clown's great.
Yes.
He does not make up anything for like how long and kind of boring that whole.
Yeah, like
they're always going through these underground like passages full of pipes and things. And so the scenery
very
just
samey.
Like we get to see an island of fire and ice, but it's so little of it that we actually get to like. It doesn't feel like it's compelling enough, and it's for such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I feel like I like the idea of like what happened there and everything.
Momonosuke and Kinemon, they are introduced, but they haven't won us. I don't think they've. It doesn't feel like they've won anyone over at this point.
Yeah, kind of didn't like either of them by the end of this arc. Really, like didn't dislike them, but I was just kind of like, oh, I guess they're also here. All right, sure. Like I'm also kind of a Law hater, and this has a lot of Law. So so that also kind of.
I'm definitely not a hater. I don't think Law does anything particularly compelling in this.
Yeah, my dislike for Law, I think, is not his fault. I think it is more, I feel like I look at Law as, I don't know how to put it, but I feel like he's like a character that I think always comes off to me as Oda is trying too hard to make him cool.
Yeah, he is so boring because of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it feels like his only job is to be I'm cool guy. When we get his background, I love his backstory.
Yeah, he has like the most like heart-stringing background.
Yes, yeah. Like honestly, Dressrosa really repairs a lot of Law for me.
Okay.
But like at this point, I was already like kind of just like unsold on Law, and I could tell that this was when we were going to start really making him part of the story. So I was kind of like already carrying that baggage. I do also agree with you that like Punk Hazard really lacks any big, like meaningful moments other than like the forging of the alliance between Luffy and Law. Like I think that part, even as much as I don't really like Law that much, like is big and is kind of like a moment. But like, and I do really like Caesar, but I kind of agree where like Punk Hazard sort of just didn't really do a lot for me.
Yeah.
So
and
like
Law,
I'm cool
I would definitely say
and
he's more than just like the cool guy, but that is the only thing he's doing in this arc is doing the rule of cool stuff.
Like and I get that you need a straight man, so it's like not like I even think that that's necessarily just a problem on its own. It's just like something about Law has just kind of always struck me as like you don't feel like you belong in this universe, and you feel like you're built to appeal to people who don't like the things I like about this universe.
Yeah.
But again, that's maybe more me reading into it and fan base stuff than it being Law's fault entirely. So I'm willing to admit to my own bias on that one. But I still think ultimately that Punk Hazard really doesn't do a lot. I really like the setting, I guess. Like I like the history of
the
like
concept,
this whole place has gotten destroyed because Aokiji and Akainu like fought, and they just ravaged this place with their power. Like that's amazing and cool. I like the weird, like dark, we're experimenting on children to try and make fake giants.
That's
like,
probably
I think
my favorite part is the,
like I think that's creepy and good.
The girl also eating all the drugged candies to save her friends from them.
Yeah, and like like how we're getting these kids addicted to this like chemical to turn them into giants, and then like how that also kind of lets what's her name, Smoker's like assistant girl. Why am I blanking on her name?
Tashigi,
yes. Like that lets like Tashigi and Nami kind of have a cool like both of them really have like a thing for taking care of kids. Yeah. So we kind of let them like.
I don't know exactly what it's leading to, but there seems to be some setup with her and Zoro like confronting like misogyny, which is very interesting, but they haven't really expanded on that since. So it's hard to tell where that's going. Yeah, Smoker just kind of racks up a couple more L's, but he's cool, but I like the fact that he ends up partying with the Straw Hats. That's another small development for his character, which I appreciate. But all these moments are just like, they're good, but they're not amazing, and they're few and far between. So yeah, this arc just kind of falls flat for me.
Like the body switch thing is kind of fun for a minute, but
it works better in the anime than the manga.
Totally.
Yeah.
In the manga, you're just looking at words. It's hard to tell.
I think the funnest part about the manga was just the Robin Frankie bit where it's like, don't do that.
Yeah, don't use Chopper's face to make that face again. Yep. So I think it has good moments, but it just falls flat for a lot of it, and that's a very similar vibe to Isir Village.
Yeah, no, I can get that.
Dressrosa.
I think people hate on this, or not even hate on it. They just feel like it's a subpar arc when I think it is very similar to Alabasta in terms of quality.
I'll say this is when I got caught up to one. Like this is when I started reading One Piece and got caught up. I think. Where were they? I think they had just gotten to the underground, like shown where all
the toys were working.
Yeah, where all the toys were working.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it runs a little long. Like 100 chapters is a bit long, whereas Alabasta was like I think was 60 or something. But Dressrosa, I think, is a genuinely similar quality to Alabasta. People always say it's like, oh, it's like it's a version of Alabasta for this, and that reason, which is all true. But like, I think the quality is there too, and I think the only reason it's not thought of in the same terms as Alabasta is because of the fact that people reading week to week had to deal with this for 100 weeks, and this is all happening in one day, and especially the anime really dragged this out, and the art was horrible at this time because all the animators were being forced to work on Super, which was a rousing success, granted, but yeah, it just ruined One Piece's animation for quite a while.
Yeah, there's a lot of good in Dressrosa. Like I love it, kind of a lot. I feel like it's one of my favorite settings. I think Doflamingo is one of my favorite villains.
Yep.
Even though I was just telling you guys that I'm much of a Law hater, I think Law's flashback is one of the best in the whole series.
Oh yeah. And I will take it every time, please. Like anytime they want to reanimate that or show it from a different perspective, because I think they've done it like 5 fucking times in the anime. I'm down for it every time.
Yeah, I think a lot of like Doflamingo's like flunkies are cool. I like a lot of the minions in this arc. Yeah. I really like, and the whole tournament arc inside of it is good. I think I like the introduction of the Grand Fleet. Like
Bartolomeo and Cavendish and Orlumbus and Ideo and I mean Lao G. Hilarious.
Yeah, the whole Senior Pink thing. Like, yeah, Senior Pink is great.
I'm forgetting his name, but the dude who had beef with Garp, I loved him.
Oh, the cone-headed guy.
Yeah.
Every single character, Oda, like this, for this arc in particular, Oda seemed like he was like, I'm going to make every side character as compelling as I possibly can. And
he came in with a tournament arc and made it great. Like, it's not hard to do, but man. It's tournament's arc in One Piece.
We also bring Nolan up again, which I did not expect at all in any way, shape, or form. And it turns out he had been here, and the Tontatas or whatever they are, the little people, they love him.
Because he said in a journal that he ran across the land of little people.
I agree that I think Dressrosa does feel like probably too long, but I think like everything it fits in there is good, so it's hard for me to really hate it for it. But like it does feel like it is just a really like lengthy ordeal, but like I like all of the pieces. I love Usopp's ascent to godhood. Like I feel like Bellamy. I like so much of this that it's hard for me
oh my god, Bellamy's bit fucking made me cry.
Amazingly done. Jesus. Like
it's also good. Yeah, it really does just affect me from just the time it happened in my life where it's like I had so much free time. I caught up on One Piece, and I'm just like every week it just feels like okay, well, it's moving at this pace, and I'm in the animes in the same arc. What the fuck?
And even just like the smallest things, like Baby 5, the fact that as soon as you realize the reason she's called that is because she was the 5th baby and was never given a name because she was useless. There's like every single character is so charming in this arc, and it's very fitting that the majority of them became Grand Fleet members.
And just the whole concept with the like it's always one of like things like whenever I'm telling people about like things I like about One Piece is it will like set up expectations and give you like an idea and then really twist that idea for you. Like you go to Dressrosa and it's like this fun, goofy place where there's living and talking toys everywhere, and it's exciting and fun and cool. And then it's like you find out that these toys are all people who are forgotten. Like they're the by being turned into toys, the whole world forgot they ever existed. And it's just like this really messed up, dark underbelly to this fun, cutesy thing. But like because of its cartoony atmosphere, it never feels like overwhelmingly dark. So you can like kind of approach these ideas and concepts with still like, I don't want to say kid gloves, but like from a degree of safety that makes it not just utterly depressing and full of despair. And I really appreciate that. And yeah, like we haven't even mentioned freaking, Rebecca Heroes, but like
I think they're good, but they're not standouts. So it's just like it. But then again, there's
nothing.
There's so many other so many characters that you're focusing on that like unlike Alabasta and Vivi, where she's like one of the only people from this country that you have a connection with. You're connected with dozens and dozens of new characters in this, so it's just like it's just kind of it's all good, but it's all just it runs together in that way. But yes, it was a very good backstory for her as well.
Like I do feel like their story, I feel like, is a good one, but it's just kind of buried in other things that happen, so it doesn't really get to shine. So like, you know, that's maybe an indicator of why thinking this arc is too long is maybe a fair argument, but I feel like everything it does is good. Like, it would be, for me, I would say it would be like above Alabasta, like around there-ish, personally. But
I think I prefer Alabasta more because it's more streamlined. I definitely value that. So I probably put it around here. What do you think, Tyler?
And
I'd probably put it around there too. I'm thinking on it now. It also has like a near as good as Skypiea ending punch for me, with him punching Don Flamingo and taking down the birdcage.
Yep.
I also just love the birdcage being a race against the clock.
Oda goes back to that a lot after this, so it's very clear that it worked out very well.
Yeah, I'd put it just behind Alabasta.
I think that's a good spot for it.
I'm cool with that.
All
I
right.
like it a lot. Thumbs up.
Zoe,
noted Affy favorite arc.
Yep.
So we're gonna go ahead and put a D as a base, and we have to argue against that.
We gotta argue it back down. I think Zoe is fine. I don't have a problem with it, but like I also don't feel like it does a ton for me personally.
Yeah, it's a cool down arc. It does what a cool down arc is meant to do, which is to just have a more like simple story, more character driven, less fighting. Very well done. Very good like twist in there with the Raizo is safe.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that's maybe the one part of it that I really, really like a lot is the Raizo is safe reveal. I think is like super well done. Like it does set up like a good like I think it is a, you know, compelling thing with Sanji leaving out of the blue. I think that like the way that's all presented, the way we kind of get this story sort of out of order, I think is cool. But like ultimately I think it's just kind of fine. Like for me it would probably be somewhere in like the like B to A range. Like
as an island, I think it's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah,
living island with animals.
Conceptually, I think it's
everything.
amazing.
It's also like one of those big lore drop areas where it's just like, hey, a red poneglyph. Did you know?
Yeah, good lore stuff. I think that's a lot of what this was, is world building, which is very appreciated, obviously, but it did exactly what it meant to do. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going higher.
If you put that below Baratie, I'm gonna spit on you. I'm fine with it being below Amazon Lily, but if you put that below,
I think I'd personally put it above Amazon Lily,
I
but
think it's
I'm
fine
also
just above Amazon Lily.
Yeah, like I that's around where I think I could see it.
I love Jack getting fucked by a bigger, stronger elephant.
Yeah, that's fun.
Also, them climbing the leg is so good.
That part is really fun.
From both.
Yeah, like a lot of fun stuff. It's just very chill, funny, all that good stuff that a cooldown arc needs. So it did good.
I've heard people hate on Whole Cake Island, and
well, it's because Sanji didn't get a cool fight.
Fuck them! Oh my god, Sanji gets a great moment.
Sanji gets to solve a problem his way with food.
Sanji, this is
Not
the best thing that's ever happened for any of the Straw Hats post time skip.
I mean, saying as far as him dealing with a conflict directly. I like Whole Cake.
I think is genuinely great. I think the only problem with it is that I wouldn't say final fight, the final conflict takes a long time to resolve.
Yeah, there's like a whole break in that fight too.
Yeah.
But that happens like 4 times in Wano too.
Yeah, I like, for me, like my big like sticking point with Whole Cake is I didn't really care for Katakuri that much. Like I don't dislike him.
Yeah,
but
same.
like
I don't care.
But like I feel like the fan base loves him, and I found Katakuri to just be a very boilerplate whatever guy. Like
I get the whole like, oh, he's got Luffy's power, but it's got a better version, kind of.
Like that's like definitely where my like I feel like I do not see eye to eye with the fan base, where it's like I get it, like I don't dislike Katakuri, and I think the whole his goofy face and him being a good big brother is like fun and endearing. I like that. I don't think that's bad, but it's just like it really didn't like super hit me, I guess. Like I don't know how to put it, but like
that like when you put it that way, that's exactly the point I feel like I want to make to defend him, because this hit me so hard, Katakuri in particular, because this is like the perfect like perfectionist argument fight. Like the Katakuri, being a perfectionist, cannot stand to take a single like blow against his ego, and that's what makes him ultimately weak against Luffy. I don't know. I think I find that very compelling because I'm always struggling against perfectionism and struggling against people, my friends who are perfectionists. I know several of them. You guys definitely know one. But it's just like, I don't know. Whenever I hear that phrase that the fandom has started saying back all the time when referring to the Luffy versus Katakuri fight, the man who never falls down versus the man who always gets back up, that I just have to love it. I cannot.
Like, I mean, I think that like describing it that way is accurate, and I do think that does sound really cool. But like, it just like I just really was not super invested in their fight, I guess. Like, I don't know how to put it. Like, it was just like one of those things where it just kind of like, to me, felt like just a box we ticked. Like, it was like, we need to have someone that Luffy can fight while all this other drama is playing out. And we can't have him fight Big Mom because she's an emperor of the sea, and we need to make sure that she still feels like she's a tier above. So we've created this character Katakuri to just kind of give someone for Luffy to deal with for now. And
yeah,
like,
I think he's so similar to Luffy in a way that it's like I said it before. Anyone who's similar to Luffy is a big threat to him. I think he's in a way a bigger threat than Big Mom is.
But I find his character so
compelling.
boring.
I don't find it that boring. But that's I mean I already described why I think that.
no, I think you make a good case. I get what you're saying.
Like good motivation. I like this little flashback, but no.
like it's one of those things where it's just like I'm willing to agree to disagree, just especially because I feel like so many people feel so passionately and strongly about him as a character. But like, yeah. I feel like Katakuri for me is like kind of the part of Whole Cake that I don't care about. I really love Sanji dealing with his family stuff. I love Pudding. I love learning about her and like how she has this abusive relationship with Big Mom and stuff, and like and how Big Mom kind of tortures all of her children in her own weird fucked up way. I like Big Mom's backstory. I like,
oh my god, Big Mom's flashback.
Like,
so
yeah,
good.
like the big wedding showdown I think is great. Getting
German
to do all
6.
this stuff with freaking what's his name, Beige, Capone, whatever.
Yeah,
like, I love him and his involvement.
There's
like
so much
like,
good stuff.
Yeah,
oh
like
God.
I think Whole Cake Island has a lot of good. Like, I am not decrying Katakuri as a reason for us to low rate
That's
Whole
just
Cake
the
Island.
icing on the cake for me. Is Katakuri. Like, all this stuff is amazing, and you get a great fight with Katakuri. It was just
Yeah, see, like my perspective is like we've got all this amazing stuff. We're gonna have
Katakuri.
to, yeah, and we've also got Katakuri who is fine. Like it's like
I like the fight with Biscuit more than I like the fight with Katakuri.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I 100%
kind of see what you're saying.
no.
I thought it was
and,
funner.
like,
I get the challenge and what it means, but I enjoyed the fight with Biscuit more.
I also really like how Brooke just gets to be low key amazing and be like,
yeah.
by the way, I solved our problem.
No, yeah.
Like,
this was definitely a standout arc for both Brooke and Jinbei.
Yeah.
And it's like definitely needed, so I appreciate it for that as well.
Also, an impression I never got, and only heard this like way after the fact. I never got the impression that Carrot was gonna be like a Straw Hat.
Oh yeah, people were gunning for Carrot to be a Straw Hat.
I could kind of see it just because I feel like she got along with the crew really well, but
yeah.
I didn't really think of her as a potential crewmate until kind of like Wano, where it was like, oh, she's still with us. Okay, maybe she will stick this out.
Also, speaking of, Pedra's sacrifice was also real good.
Yes.
It was pretty good.
Forgot about that, yeah.
I don't think I put as much weight on it as the story wants me to, but
yeah,
it
the
was
story
good.
really likes it a lot, and I think it's like not quite.
Well, I think it's because Oda was proud of himself for finally going through with an actual death.
I actually killed a character, guys. Remember Pedro? He's dead.
I would put it personally above Alabasta.
Yeah,
I could. Yeah, I think
I would definitely want it above Alabasta. I'm just trying to think of where I would personally put it. You guys can argue me down, but
I think I'd put it. I think I'd put it above Sabaody, and that's where I'd be, or Sabaody, however you want to say it. Putting it over Skypiea feels too high to me, but I could be talked into it.
I would probably put it above Enies Lobby personally, but I'm definitely okay with putting it below Skypiea.
Yeah, I would maybe get a little freaked out if we put it over Enies Lobby, but
look,
I do like Whole Cake Island a lot.
Also, I just love Big Mom. I
Yeah,
love
I think-
Big Mom as a character, as a threat in the world too. She is so good.
Big Mom really
My
very-
dog after Big Mom.
Yeah, genuinely very fun character to follow. The main things going against her are the 30 chapter wedding cake chase, which is probably like 40 anime episodes, which is insane, and the fact that she got amnesia. But if you don't
Yeah.
if you don't like consider those as major factors, like she's amazing in every way, and anyone who doesn't like her is weird.
No, I kind of agree. I feel like
Are there
the
Big Mom haters out there?
Oh yeah, there's plenty.
I'm sure there are. Like,
Like,
I do
people
feel
wanted the Emperor of the Sea to be a big bad scary. He's so cool.
I
Tough
guess
man.
it is like you get the fun spread of her standing next to Kaido.
Yeah.
and just being like, yeah, these are the two top powers in the world right now.
But I feel like
basically.
that is so One Piece in that.
No,
just
yeah,
one
exactly. I
image.
love that. I think that's great.
She's the perfect balance of intimidating and goofy, much
Yeah,
like NL Eneru, like I mentioned before. All right, the Reverie arc. This is just all lore dumps. So this is determining
Yeah.
how much we like lore dumps, which I of course
I-
appreciate, but
I do really like lore dumps, but it doesn't really have any like
I think it has a fun
Emotional
moment
hook
with
moment.
the come around for the. I literally bought Viva cards today, and it has his in it. 1 second. Saint
I know what you're
Mjosgard?
talking about.
Don Flamingo Mjosgard. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
of course
like, that
that was
part's
really
good.
really good.
And like the whole emu reveal is great. Like I do
Yeah.
really like that, and that was like one of those things
That was
like really,
that's just like a great storytelling moment, just introducing a chair that
Oh, yeah,
no one's ever allowed to sit in, and then
Yeah.
a chapter
And then
later,
once-
like that's just
yeah.
that's just
Uh-huh.
snappy writing. That's good.
Just
But yeah, but like I feel like ultimately it like does not hit the same as most of these arcs.
Oh,
But, like I feel like I would definitely put it somewhere in the B tier. I'm not sure exactly.
It's definitely
where.
like around Post-Enies Lobby, which is also
Yeah.
a kind of
Yeah.
lore dump thing.
I would
I'd say
probably put
probably
it in Enies Lobby.
I put it below it, honestly. I feel
Well,
like
you know
Post-Enies
what?
Lobby
Yeah,
has more.
the Usopp apology is real good.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Wapple coming back is also really.
I do cry every time Wapple comes back.
I do
The
whenever I see
anime
Wapple.
even animated his cover story.
Yeah,
I'm
I feel
shocked
like
they
that's a good
don't
place for
have-
Reverie.
Like Onigashima and post Onigashima as its own thing.
Well, I mean, the arcs are always determined like by the location, and this is all technically on Wano. So,
Wano's just too big of a location, really.
but yeah, Wano. I mentioned I've been wanting to go back and read this, so
Yeah,
my
Wano's gonna be
opinion's
a
a
hard
little
one.
outdated.
Yeah,
this
Wano's
is-
hard one to rate just because
This is one I was definitely reading week to week for, and I felt
Yeah.
it. The fight definitely went on way too long.
Yeah.
The raid.
I
don't
like
It
remember.
was
so many-
such a fun time to be a One Piece fan.
Yeah.
Like,
I really like a ton of individual parts of Wano. Like it's like one of those things where like I agree that the last big fight definitely goes for too long, but like when it hits so good. It's like it's hard for me to not really cheer for it. Like, but I don't know, man. There's just so much with Wano that it's hard to
It's
judge.
so big, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so there's so
it
much
feels like it's like 3 or 4
different
arcs in
aspects
one.
to it. And the fact that I don't
all
remember
Post-
all the details of it because I haven't seen it in so long is unfortunate. Because
all post raid stuff with like, hey, we're coming in. We almost immediately meet Kaido, and then he just fucks up Luffy. Luffy's thrown in jail. We see Kid again. We learn we get a little training arc, which I don't think we've ever seen one really in One Piece because
Nope.
like they've all kind of been off
Oda
screen with just
definitely
like,
doesn't
hey,
like
we're gonna
doing
go.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's got really good emotional moments, like of course the smile fruits and
yeah.
Yasuie and all that.
I also do like the planning out of the raid itself, and like, a plan got leaked. How do we fix this? A character sacrifices themselves, and it's a really good death moment.
Yeah,
The
it's,
whole
it's definitely very
flashback's
solid.
really good too.
Yeah, like I don't think about the before the raid much, but it's real good.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, cataloging my thoughts.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I remember these moments, but I just don't remember, like, I can't piece together how it would all fit as a cohesive arc, you know? That's the reason I keep wanting to go back and read it.
I think it fits because you immediately come in. Kaido sets a ceiling that we have to like build up to again.
Yeah.
So you get the little training thing, and then they have a fortress, so we got a plan to get in that fortress. And then there was someone who's betrayed us, and we got to figure that out, or that just kind of gets figured out in the last second whenever the last plan falls apart.
And then, of course, during the raid, we get some pretty decent fights, but of course, the standout is absolutely Gear 5. which
Yeah.
feels like it's almost so impactful that it's practically disconnected from Wano.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like Gear Fifth alone, and how like, and also I love Gear Fifth. Like I'm
Absolutely,
Like,
best
like,
thing that could
like-
have happened.
yeah, yes, like it is one of those things where I am so happy that's the direction it went. I am so happy that we did not get any
Gear
of the
death.
bullshit fan
Yeah.
predicted Gear Death garbage.
Oh my god.
Oh, if any of that stuff happened, I would have been so mad.
The resin fruit, the
Just like it's so good, like that. Like Gear Fifth alone makes me want to argue this into D, even though I don't think the whole Wano arc deserves that. To be
No.
honest, like
But,
but that part itself is so good. It's like way up there, and I
Yeah.
just want to emphasize that before I start arguing this into like A or something. I just
I
want to
will argue
emphasize
it
that
as-
the Gear Fifth is just so good.
I will argue it as an anime or a manga thing before it's an anime. The drum soundtrack for the
Yeah,
4 trailer
start coming in. Yeah,
is so good.
Yeah,
And
that animated manga panels that they do for promos of the manga volume releases, very, very fun. Like I watched that like a dozen times.
Yeah, I'll go back and watch it and just like I will like I don't know if you ever hear it, Grant, but I will turn my speakers all
Just
the
those
pound on my
drums.
fucking chest.
Dude,
It's so good. I love the
even,
drums of
I think I even made a
liberation.
comment on that video because I just had to share it because it was just like I was in the marching band in high school and just hearing the drum line around me just wailing on those drums so hard that the vibrations would cause car alarms to go off in the parking lot at 500 feet away. Like that kind of like those vibrations going through your body is just like how I perfectly imagine Luffy feeling in that state. And it's just like, that is so viscerally fun and
just great.
exciting.
All right, so it's D. It stands above everything. Like
I mean, the
But-
rest of it is still like got a lot of good stuff.
no,
Tama's
it's got
great.
yeah, like that is not the like.
There's a
Gear Fifth is
reason
not the
that
only good part,
that Yamato
for sure.
became such a popular character.
Yeah, like man, Wano, why you got to be so big? Because I've got to just try and think of so many things and try and compare each and every one and then average it. Like yeah, like there's a lot of good. Like it's hard for me to argue anything but like S or D for this.
Like I definitely want to put it around
even though it
Enies
feels
Lobby.
super long, and when Wano was over, I was so excited because I was so happy to be done with Wano. But man, it's just huge.
I
think
might want to put
Revisiting
it,
it,
around
it's probably behind Marineford.
Yeah, I'm kind of cool with it being like, even though I was saying Enies Lobby is like my favorite part of One Piece, I could see it going there. I think that's all right.
Egghead is top on all fronts.
It honestly is doing it did amazing. It's over now. It's
Yeah.
like it did amazing at everything it tried to do. Great fights,
great reveals.
My favorite flashback of all time is in this one. Great lore, great character moments, fun adventure-y stuff. It had everything.
Fuck. Like looking at the list, it's so weird because it's like, of course it's better than Jaya.
It is like it's also like the only arc that you could read week to week and not feel it slowing down much. They did the very last few chapters, but that was it. It was compelling every single week, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see some of this animated.
Yeah, I feel like the last couple chapters did kind of slow it down a bit, but yeah, like it's just
But that's just week to week as well. Like
yeah,
if you're
yes,
reading
yeah.
it back to back, that'll go
probably
even faster.
that'll probably feel fine. Yeah, like yeah, and it's also like this was also the first arc that I was entirely caught up by the time it started, so I got to experience the whole
Yeah.
thing week to week. So I'm
I
like
think-
having to reframe it differently because it's like I wasn't used to waiting for stuff like that throughout, so it feels weird in my head.
I think this was my like favorite character reveal for like anybody that was mentioned beforehand, like Big Mom Kaido.
Vegapunk.
For Vegapunk. I was so excited to see Vegapunk and he delivered.
Yeah.
I love like Satellite Vegapunk's design.
Yeah.
That's Stella, yeah. God. And Vegapunk was just like a really good character throughout the entire thing.
Is Egghead above Jaya? Do I really feel that way? Like now I'm trying to think about it. Like, man, like is it just because it's new? Do I feel that way? Because it just really did a lot of good.
It's so much good. The fact that it's new and we like it is a
It's
credit to
maybe
it.
it's actually more of a cap, and it's like a feather in its cap. Yeah.
Yes, like people hate the newest arc typically. Like
It's so good. It is so good. I'm gonna say it's behind Jaya. Is where I'm saying. What about you, Grant?
I wouldn't feel comfortable putting
Gun
it
to your
above
head in about
Jaya
2 minutes. Whenever I find
until
it,
I've
and
had time
get
to
up there.
reread it.
I'm thinking. I think I would put it below Jaya. Yeah, I think where we have it right now is maybe the highest.
I'm okay
I
with
would put it.
bringing it up once I've reread it, but right now I do think I'd like it. I like it more than Wano 7.
I like this because I feel like I'm cautious in the other direction where I'm like, I feel like I could relook at this and put it like all the way like not like this is way far down, but it's like I feel like I could put it over with like Marineford maybe. But like, yeah, man. Yeah, I didn't think about it. I like not until we really talked about it now, because like I feel like week to week, Egghead, I was like, yeah, I'm liking this arc fine. But like, yeah, now that I'm looking at it all in the rear view, I'm like, no, every part of that was really good.
It is all good. Rob Lucci comes back. Rob Lucci works with them.
Yeah, they do. We do have the fun team up, which is another thing I love. I love when former enemies have to work with us. Man.
It's genuinely just very good all the way through. I'm okay with putting it there, at least for now.
And it's probably the best the anime's ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, that I definitely agree with.
And it's going to get even better with the
and it's going to get better now. All right. Wow. Okay.
All right. Let's
now's our
review
tweak.
and
Yeah,
I've seen people complaining that Arlong's at the top. I know I strong-armed that, but if you guys want to put it a bit lower, I am willing to listen to your reason.
I would put it behind Water 7.
I'm still with you, Ben. I think Arlong Park is still at the top, kind of. Like, it's one of those things where I feel like it is. I would practically declare it a perfect One Piece arc. Like, it's like I feel like it is the quintessential. It does everything exactly what it needs to be. Like, Jaya is very good, but it is still a setup arc. Like, at the end of the day, it still feels like it.
I also like people are talking about in our chat how it's
like,
weird how high Jaya is.
So high. Yeah.
You know what? Call that our spicy take. You know, this is what sets our
list
apart from others.
We're all standing behind that.
Yeah, because I think
Jaya
is the perfect
arc.
I think Jaya is the perfect setup arc. Like, I think it is I think it does set up exactly how it needs to be done.
Yes.
Like, and it's like,
and it even has
that's the only reason it isn't the best arc is that it's not, I feel like, a full arc like Arlong is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after this, we're all gonna go get tattoos of Luffy pointing up.
No, I would get the cloud. I would get the shadow Luffy. I would get his silhouette on the clouds.
Ooh, that's real good.
But
and it would just look like a weird birthmark because I would just make it like just a darker version of my skin, like a shadow.
Yeah, but isn't that technically Skypiea?
Yeah, but it was introduced. The shadow giants were introduced in Jaya, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's more a conceptual carryover, but yes.
I was worried going into this list. I'd be like, everyone knows how the One Piece arcs rank. Generally,
the top
speaking.
list would be
like the top of the list is always Enies Lobby and Marineford and Water 7 and Wano, and we got all that, but we've got some curveballs in here. We've got Marineford relatively low compared to what the general consensus is. We've got Jaya really high. We've got Skypiea really high.
Yeah, like I'm trying to look at this and see where I'd move. I think I would personally. Maybe this is too far. I think I would move Whiskey Peak down to be the top of C. Romance Dawn is the bottom of B.
I think I might agree with that, Tyler. Do you think so?
Because I feel like Whiskey Peak sticks out in that list as I don't think it's as good as the rest of them.
Yeah, you said you wanted Reverse Mountain to be higher.
I don't know if Reverse Mountain needs to be higher. I know that was a drum top.
It's better than Baratie. It needs to be an A.
I think I'd personally be okay with that.
I could swap Reverse Mountain and Baratie. I could see Baratie even moving down to the top of B.
I don't think I'd go that far.
Okay. I would.
Because Baratie feels like a full arc and it had a lot of cool stuff to it. But Return to Sabaody is where we get to this isn't actually like an arc kind of territory.
I would move Return to Sabaody below Reverie personally. Like that's another thing I would feel like if you guys disagree, I'm cool not doing that. But looking at the list
above
and
Reverie,
like
attached to the Straw Hats, I think that carries it over Reverie.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
and
fine
if we're
with me.
also talking about anime stuff, it has my probably my favorite opening.
Yeah.
But like really the Post-Enies Lobby. Like Usopp apology and everything, I feel like that is better than everything in Return to Sabaody, so that's why I'm like Post-Enies Lobby needs to be up there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Let's see. Reverse Mountain, Amazon Lily, Zoe, Post-War, Little Garden, Fishman Island, Drum Island.
I kind of think post-war is too high, but I won't fight on that. Like I have my crew is a really big and important moment, but I feel like that's sort of all it has.
I don't think
Kinda
that's
feels
all
weird.
it has, but like if we're talking about like one big moment, Zoe's one big moment, which is we agreed is kind of what it's known for, is not as compelling as post.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, I would
but also maybe
that,
argue both of them down.
I would also argue that Zoe's big moment isn't as good as Enies Lobby's post.
Post-Enies Lobby's big moment.
Yeah, sorry.
True,
I'm trying to read these.
But Enies Lobby is an arc in and of itself. I wouldn't consider Post-Enies Lobby an actual like proper story.
Doesn't
or-
feel like it does the whole job of an arc. Okay, looking at this list, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
I think
Like,
I'm liking
nothing's sticking out too much for me. There's a couple that I feel like I just don't like as much, but I'm like I'm fine with it. Yeah, this feels about right. I'm almost wanting to argue Skypiea into D, but I think that's going too far. I don't think we have to.
No, I think it's not.
I think that's me
it's
just trying to
really
make an
good.
argument.
It deserves to. I'm part of you wanting to put it higher just so that people don't skip it, but no, I think it's fine where it is. Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's our list, and if yours doesn't look just like this,
Go
kill
out there and
yourself.
tell
Keep this mentally
everyone
framed. Hold on,
that
before we
GOODTIMEZone has put-
close.
Move your cursor real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, before we close, get like an image of this. We're gonna go ahead and do a print screen.
But go ahead and tell everyone that GOODTIMEZone has put Marineford and Water 7 and Enies Lobby into D tier.
Well, don't tell them that just yet, because now we need to mix it all up so we can have a very scary looking thumbnail for people to be freaked out by.
Yep.
We need to have stuff in all kinds of
Arlong
weird
Park
order.
is, let's mix that up and put in an A. It's still at the top because people are going to get mad at that. Egghead Island.
That's
absolute
the
bottom
one truth we can have in there that everyone's like, oh, this is a clickbaity thing.
Enies Lobby. Let's go with B. Way too much with the King Yagaras. I hate those things.
Yeah.
Wano. Really.
Let's
way
make
too
Wano
Japanese.
yeah. Let's put Wano like somewhere in the middle, and let's go ahead and put Syrup Village as like bottom of D or something. Like we really liked it, but we didn't say it was the best.
Can you just do me a favor and just put Thriller Bark in the second place?
Yeah, but Marineford, that needs to go down a bit. Okay, so Jaya, Thriller Bark, and Syrup Village, perfect. Skypiea, let's keep that up there. We just need to give it its credit.
Long
Impel
Ring Longland,
Down.
put that in S somewhere.
Let's put that right there.
Yeah, all right, that feels better.
Marineford can go down a little bit. Little Garden.
Like how Marineford keeps slowly moving down.
Hey, how does
Amazon Lily?
Never
Let's bring that up a bit more. That's above Water 7.
Yeah, that's
Baratie.
about right.
You know what? Can you put one more on D just so it's even?
Put it on.
You know, Dressrosa is a D.
Yeah, it starts with D.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, that okay, perfect. And now I'm going to also screen grab this for the thumbnail. All
Yeah.
right, I'm good.
All right.
Hey, if you hit that live voting poll, what happens?
Live voting.
Yeah, at the top. Well, like, will it make it so, like, here's a link and we'll have everybody.
He wants me to log
you have
in.
to-
I'm not dealing with that.
Okay, never mind. I was about to say, can we have everybody in the stream vote on one? Figure out what they think while we're talking about Impel Down, Elbaf for a second.
Yeah, you guys. I'll start posting. Just post the name of your favorite arc. We'll at least have that. But I think for this video, we're about good. I mean, clearly Jaya's at the top. Thriller Bark, Syrup Village, Dressrosa, all masterpieces as we discussed these past
really
3-ish hours.
Yeah, it really is like kind of if you were going to distill One Piece and you were going to tell people like, okay, you can only watch 4 arcs, those would be the 4 to kind of get the whole view of the entire series. And I think that's like about as good of a distillation as you could get.
Yep, absolutely. People keep saying Wano's great, but honestly, top of B is the best we can give it.
Yeah, it's it's fine. It did its best.
Same for Enies Lobby and Arlong Park. They're just middling. You know, what can you say about it? It's just like, oh, Luffy helps a friend and fights people. Okay.
Too many fishmen. I'm not a fan. I think they're gross and I don't like looking at them.
There you go.
And that's the bottom line.
That's the tier list.
Good times. Zone.